The following is a presentation of the BellyUpSports Media Network.
The ball sends it over to Edward Robles. Go! Insert name FC! Let's go! Insert name FC! What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. You can find us on all things social media on Instagram and Twitter at formerly known as X, now known as NetX, at Insert Name FC. You can also check us out on TikTok at insert.name.fc. That's where you can find clips from these episodes that we do. And of course, we're also available on YouTube. Just look us up, Insert Name FC. That's where you can find these episodes, the audio version. But of course, if you guys want to see like shorter form video versions, we do break these episodes down into a video form. So it's a little bit easier to digest, especially if you're just interested in one specific topic in this episode. So there is also that feature as well. And of course, you can find us on all things podcasting, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast fix, you'll find us there as well. But yeah, this episode one, we're back to back. Now we're being consistent again. Yeah, this episode is definitely going to be shorter from last week. Obviously, no MLS Cup playoff. MLS Cup playoffs is going on, but they're now in the round of one, so we won't cover that till after round one is completed. But yeah, this episode we're gonna have overreactions. We're gonna have headlines. Kelcey Coyne will be joining for overreactions and headlines. So Kelcey Coyne from High Low Sports, he'll be here to talk about Portland Timbers. Evander had some things to say after their elimination. The Chicago Stars rebrand. The Chicago Red Stars having a rebrand. We're gonna talk about that, and we're also gonna bring up Kevin De Bruyne, something that's happening with his future as well in the world of football. Give you guys players of the week, and then give you guys some games to look forward to this coming weekend. Lots to talk about as far as, this coming weekend. And, of course, that's it. And then we'll wrap this up in a pretty little bow for you. Obviously, this weekend has not been great for me because of the fact that Real Madrid got mollywopped by Barcelona 4-0. I had a feeling Real Madrid wasn't going to win that game. There was a lot of uncertainty still with Real Madrid, especially the way the attack has been going, has been very stagnant. I think that it's going to get figured out. I'm not like as far as like where I am on the worry button, or I'm not like hovering over the worry button. I think Real Madrid is eventually going to figure things out. As far as La Liga title goes, I don't want to give up just yet. I mean, we're not even at the midway point just yet, but we know that this is a marathon, not a sprint. The way Barcelona has been playing this year has been very phenomenal. I think Hansi Flick has had me eat my words since him taking the Barcelona job. I think I had my doubts. I didn't think he was a good fit for Barcelona, but the way he has run this ship, I think has answered a lot of the concerns that Barca fans do have. And I think I had some concerns about Barcelona. Like I said, man, plenty time and time again, even though I am a Madridista and I want to see Real Madrid succeed, I also want to see La Liga be respected as one of the best leagues in the world. And that doesn't happen if Barcelona is terrible. It's hard to justify a league when Real Madrid is the only team that's at least considered the top. And that's why I also respect Atletico Madrid. I have a lot of respect in this league. Obviously they're still our rivals, and the thought of losing to them still disgusts me. And I think this game was very much embarrassing. I think if anything, this was a shed the light kind of game for Real Madrid that resting on your laurels isn't going to do it. You need to be proactive on the attack. Mbappe thoroughly pissed me off in this game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It pissed me off. It pissed me off watching somebody who has all the talent in the world, who should be all in all the best player on the field, and cannot adjust, cannot adjust to not be offside. Mbappe can outrun any center back, and this guy continues to did not at once adjust his game or just wait a little long, just a little bit more to stay on side for the pass. It was frustrating to watch. I mean, obviously, Vinny had opportunities. The first half, there was a lot of opportunities to put it away. I think I was at least through my head in my headspace at that first half. I was like, it could be worse, but good thing, the game is still 0-0. I think that like given some opportunity, maybe they can make the correct adjustments going into the second. But no, they didn't make any adjustments, and that was the even more embarrassing part was the lack of adjusting. And I think the high press just eventually just couldn't. The high press was just it. And then obviously Robert Lewandowski scored back-to-back goals and minutes apart from each other. Lamine Yamal had his moment being now the youngest goal scorer in El Clasico's history. And then Rafinha just pouring salt on the wound already of that game. At that point, I turned off the game, which is very rare that I do that. I don't ever. The only reason why I would turn off a game early is because I need to go to bed. But aside from that, I don't really turn off games. I just absorb the blows. But this game this was probably one of the worst losses I've ever got to. And I mean, Real Madrid has had some pretty embarrassing losses against Barcelona and just losses in general, but Barcelona specifically. But this was just embarrassing on the fact that like there was just no adjustment to me. Mbappe just being bad on the field, Lucas Vasquez and Ferland Mendy just getting exposed as the fullbacks. And I mean, I'm not going to be the injury excuse guy. I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, if Danny Carvajal was here, was on the field, it would be a different game. Or, oh, the field that was out there, the players that were out there on the field are the players that were out there on the field. And at the end of the day, they're still Real Madrid players, and they're still the same standard applies to them. And yeah, it just like Luka Modric just couldn't do anything to help the sinking ship that was the El Clasico for Real Madrid. It just when it got bad, it got worse. And I think that this was definitely a shed the light game. I think that there is a lot that Real Madrid has to, not just Ancelotti. I know a lot of people are going to blame Ancelotti for it. Which I mean, yes, granted, he, obviously is the one that has to speak out and say things to make those adjustments. But also, it's on the players, man. Mbappe, if you're getting caught offside as many times as you had in that game, at some point you have to be like, all right, let me just hold off a bit. But no, and once again, you can easily outrun any of those center backs, and you didn't. Like it was frustrating to see that because it was like to me those offside calls, those were goals. Those were going to be goals. I could feel that those were going to be goals, and it was just deflating again and again after again and again. It was just frustrating. And then at that point, I think everybody was just so frustrated that they weren't in a clear headspace. And, that's why those clear opportunities were not as clear as I thought they were. It was an embarrassing loss. And I think Real Madrid needed that. They did need that. Because had they beat Barcelona, had they drew with Barcelona, nothing would have been learned. No one would have learned anything. And that I think for me, and it's not like I was hoping for Real Madrid to lose. I don't want to see this team lose. I would continue have been being like, I would have been fine with them not learning anything from it. But I think now you learn from this. You have to learn from this and apply it for the next game. because yeah, it was an embarrassing game. Like enough for me to want to turn off the not even the TV. I was watching it on my phone. The fact that I had to turn it off my phone, like I said, man, I at that point I was just like, yeah, me and Edward we texted about it. Edward didn't actually get to watch the game live, so he actually got to rewatch the game. And so he was just as surprised that it ended that badly because he said the first half he thought Real Madrid was doing fairly well. And then he saw the second half and he saw why I was as frustrated as I was. I mean, I'm sure he's happy. Robert Lewandowski, his guy, scored 2 goals. Lamine Yamal, the future. I don't even think it's fair to say he's the future. He is. He is Barcelona now. Getting a goal. And then Rafinha, the great 180 that he got. Nothing. A lot of positives for Edward, for Barcelona. A year, after all the drama that Barcelona has gone through, for them to have this moment where they're now looked at as the clear-cut favorites to win La Liga, Edward would gladly take what's going on right now. And so, and mind you, even in the worst that Barcelona has been, they still were managed to get a La Liga title. So, yeah, this loss disgusted me. And then in the text message with me and Edward, I did end with, "Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to cry myself to sleep while listening to Johnny Cash." And I literally did that. Not the cry myself to sleep part, but the listening to Johnny Cash. I did spend some time and listen to Johnny Cash because, yeah, I needed that. It was rough. It was rough, yeah. But I'm sure Kelcey will bring this up. I actually haven't recorded yet with Kelcey, but yeah, Kelcey will be on for overreactions and headlines. Like I said, once again, players of the week and that games to watch. Should be a pretty short episode compared to last week. But I mean, you never know when it comes to me and Kelcey. So, but yeah, should be a fairly short episode. Maximum at minimum an hour. So, yeah, that's all I really got to say, man. At least the Texans won today. It was still rough, but it's still a good win nonetheless. We'll see how the Dynamo do on Monday and how they do this coming weekend against Seattle. But yeah. All right, so we're gonna go to take a break and then we'll go right into overreactions and headlines with Kelcey Coyne of Hilo Sports. Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website. All right, guys, just real quick, this just popped up, so 2 things. It's not going to be featured on the episode. We'll talk about that next episode. But one, jeez, I don't know why the fuck I can't say this. All right, it's not even like that detrimental or anything. But it is official. Erik ten Hag has been fired from Manchester United. It was dropped literally. So just for you guys having a reference, it's Monday. Obviously these episodes drop on Thursdays, but it's Monday. They announced that Ten Hag has been fired. Like I said, we'll talk more about it next week. Just so you guys don't think that we didn't mention this, but obviously, because for reference, guys, we record these episodes Sunday or Saturday, and so things that happen within the week probably doesn't get mentioned. But luckily, I'm editing on Mondays, so I'm able to talk about it. And then second, the main thing, is Rodri has won the 2024 Ballon d'Or. Obviously, this is what I predicted when we saw the finalists for the Ballon d'Or. Me and Musa from Mo Football TV actually called it, so feels good. But obviously, if you guys also know about me, is that I made a jersey bet when previewing the Copa America, saying that if Vinicius Jr. does not win the Ballon d'Or, I will do a jersey giveaway. So here it is. Here is the rules on how you can enter on the jersey bet. So for starters, we're going to announce the winner December 1st. So December 1st, you guys have the entire month of November to get in on this. All right. So you have the entire month of November. No excuses. The winner will be announced December 1st. Again, December 1st is when we will be announcing the winner of the jersey bet, of the jersey giveaway. Not the jersey bet, the jersey giveaway. December 1st. That's when we will announce the winner. Secondly, how to enter. How are you going to enter for this? Okay, before we get that, I mean, what's the prize? Obviously, it's a jersey, but being that we are talking about Rodri, I think it's only fair that we give away a Rodri jersey. So that is what we're giving away, is going to be a Rodri jersey. I will let you choose if you would rather have a Manchester City Rodri kit or you would prefer a Spain Rodri kit. So those are going to be the two options, but we are going to be giving away a Rodri kit. Obviously, winner we'll get in touch with them. We'll ask them what size they want, and all that blah blah blah. But anyways, so that's what we're gonna give away is a Rodri jersey. Once again, a Rodri jersey, whether it's Manchester City or Spain, that's the jersey we're giving away. So how to enter? So we're gonna go to X. So guys, X, we'll have the link on the post where we drop this. This is everything you're hearing is what's gonna be on the post. By the way, also this will be featured on the episode. So you have multiple avenues on how you're gonna hear how to enter. So follow Insert Name FC on the X, at Insert Name FC on the X, just like it sounds, just like it's just how it sounds is exactly how you type it in, at Insert Name FC. You follow us. You see the post. So this the post that you see that's gonna have the video that I'm talking the rules on it. You have to like the post and repost it. So that way, so one, we can verify that you're a subscriber, you're a follower. Secondly, that you liked it and that you reposted it. And then I'm going to give you guys one extra vote option to get included into the raffle, okay? One extra name. So that means your name's already going to be dropped for already doing the things that we just mentioned. We'll add an extra one on the comment on the post. Once again, on the X at Insert Name FC on the post. This video right here, that's on the X, same video. So whether you see this on TikTok, whether you see this on Instagram, whether you see this on Facebook, or even on LinkedIn, if you see this post, you go on X and you see this very same exact video, you're in the right place. On the comment, post a screenshot that you followed either on any of the social media sites that I mentioned, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, hell, even LinkedIn. If you follow Insert Name FC on any of those social media platforms, that will give you an extra spot on the raffle. I'm only doing this for one, so that doesn't mean that you send multiple screenshots. I'm only going to look at one and give you one extra name on the raffle. So that's how we're going to do it. Once again, how to enter on the jersey giveaway is go to x.com, look for it at Insert Name FC. It'll be really easy because we're going to have the link already on this post that you're going to be watching this right now. Follow us on the X. So follow, like this post, repost this post that's on the X. Once again, on the X. All of this only applies to the X. And if you want an extra spot on the raffle, an additional name on the raffle, on the post on the X, once again, on the X, screenshot that you are following on either Instagram, Facebook, or even YouTube. I'll allow YouTube as well, or LinkedIn. So any of the other social media platforms that we're available on, if you send a screenshot, post a screenshot on the comments of the post, once again on X, we'll give you an additional name on the raffle for a chance to win a Rodri jersey. Once again, your choice whether you want it to be Spain or Manchester City. So those are your options. That is what we're going to give away, is a Rodri kit. So if you guys understand that, go ahead and enter. Good luck to you. Like I said, you have the entire month of November to enter. Winner will be announced December 1st. It will be all. Look, I'm not going to even have a video. It's just going to be the picture on how to enter the raffle to get a jersey. So that's exactly what we're doing. But like I said, all this you have to go on the X to enter. To enter into this raffle, you have to go on the X. That's the only way we're gonna go ahead and give out the giveaway on. We will announce the winner December 1st. Once again, no, December 1st. That's when we're gonna give it out, give it away. December 1st, we will announce the winner. Once we do that, we'll get in contact with you, and yeah, well, you'll get a jersey. So that's it. I just want to let you guys know. So enjoy the rest of the episode. Fight and win! All right, guys. We are back for overreactions and headlines, and we do have a super sub on with us, and that is, of course, is the icon. I'm going to start using icon now for this. Kelcey Coin of High Low Sports and of other responsibilities for Belly of Sports as well. Kelcey,
yeah,
great to have you back, man.
It's always great. I don't know if icon's the right term for it, but you know what? There's all sorts of icons in FIFA, or sorry, EA Sports FC. So maybe I'll get one of those fun icons that they give like an 82 rank, 83 rank player to. That'll be my icon card. I don't know if I'm ready for a 90 plus ranking icon.
Fair enough. I mean, so because Jose's on this whole Jose from GolzTV, obviously, is on this whole tangent because of he doesn't want to call Carlos Vela a legend for LAFC. He refuses to call him that, but he says he's willing to call him an icon. And I'm kind of like, I feel like icon's a little bit higher than legend.
Yeah,
I think
I think it depends. Are we talking like a league icon? I think is higher than a club legend. But I think
because when I think of icons, I think of like Michael Jackson, and I'm sure some people are going to not be mad when I say. Hopefully, no one gets mad when I say Michael Jackson. I think we're past this now. Kobe Bryant. Okay, well, some people might not feel great about that one either. But like Kobe Bryant is an icon, right? He's like thoroughly well beloved, correct?
Yeah.
I think more and more as I start thinking about this, I think I was always more of a Kobe fan than I was a Lakers fan. Because like I really don't give a shit about basketball now that I think about it. So I'm like I might just become just a basketball fan. I'm probably not gonna be like having these like because I didn't really care too much for the Lakers when they won the bubble championship. I mean, probably that's because like I was like I can't be shitting on Dodgers fans for winning I think that's what it was. I was like I can't be celebrating this. But then, shit on Dodgers fans for celebrating the 2020 World Series. So I was like,
no, it's better. Sometimes it's better not to be a fan of a team. As a fan of the Kings, I can speak from firsthand experience of not wasting your time being a fan of a team that's just not that great.
But see, that's when I actually enjoyed basketball, though. Like, I mean, when the Kings were like, I mean, Bibby and Vlad Divac. But obviously that's also Kobe and Shaq era of the Lakers, mixed in with Derek Fisher at point guard. Big Shot Rob was also on that team. Rick Fox. Man, I miss those days.
Those were the good days of basketball, I will agree.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big Derek Fisher fan too, by the way. I mean, maybe not too big of a fan of what he did at the end, but I mean, still like, I think this is just like my clarity moment of right now how I feel about basketball. But yeah, so I have a bunch of Lakers jerseys though because I'm also a big Austin Reeves guy. But
it looks like I hate to say it looks like you're going to be a Laker fan for a while.
I think I am, dude, because I got like an Anthony Davis jersey. I do have a LeBron jersey. I even have a Kyle Kuzma jersey. I'm sure that just man, you know what? One of these days, I think we need to do a 3 up, 3 down of like poorly dated jerseys.
Well, I got the best one of that.
Well, maybe not poorly dated, but just dated jerseys in general, just because like some of these jerseys may have aged gracefully, like for instance, like this Andre Johnson jersey, or
my Ron Artest Kings jersey that I got. But literally 2 days before he got traded to the Lakers.
See, but I wouldn't.
And then changed his name to Meta World Peace.
Oh, dude, that's history right there. I think you have a piece of it. I always loved Ron Artest, so I don't think that's like the equivalent of having like a Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey. Like, because because I love the Ryan. I think anybody that has a Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey, I think is just cool. Like I don't think it's like a poorly dated jersey. I mean, who doesn't love Ryan Fitzmagic? But like,
Tom Brady.
well, I mean, and Fitzy doesn't like him either. So, I guess that's a fair one. Maybe like trying to see like a Jamarcus Russell jersey. Like that's got to be
yeah.
like just poorly aged. Depending who you.
I got a better one for you. Andy Carroll Liverpool jersey.
Oof.
Yeah. There you go.
To imagine being the guy that chose the Andy Carroll jersey over the Luis Suarez jersey.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, I guess you could relate.
I relate wholeheartedly to that one. Or the Ryan Babel jersey that sits in the box in the trash can somewhere. The Ryan Babel Liverpool specifically jersey. Yeah, those are the rough ones.
Yeah, but all right, man. So that was jersey talk. But all right, let's go right
from
into
icons to jerseys, just like that.
Yeah, icons to jerseys. But yeah, so I mean that'd be a pretty cool 3 up, 3 down. Now that I mention it, need to get back into these like post show like clips, like segments again. But anyways, overreactions, man. What's your overreaction from this past weekend of footy?
That Thomas Tuchel is not going to save England from the abysmal recovery that they're going to have. I know it's not related necessarily to this weekend's performances, but it happened this weekend, and I can't stop thinking about it and how everybody is saying that he is going to be their savior. There's no chance. The guy is a fill-in of a fill-in manager. He wasn't even their first target. He wasn't their second target. He was just the guy that was like, I guess we can get him if everybody else looks like they're going to get hired because their teams are doing well. And that's what happens. So yeah, that's my overreaction. I know it's not necessarily performance-based, but I can't stop thinking about it, man. Like the fact that everybody is all like, "Oh, this is so great for England." No, it's not. Let's calm ourselves before we get too far ahead of it.
I think when I talked to Nick about it, obviously in the last episode, I did bring up that question about like, I mean, if he was the guy, if he was England's guy, why didn't they just hire him when Southgate already like stepped down? Because I mean, he was in the job market, right? He didn't have a job lined up yet. And I mean, it could be a combination of just the poor performance that they had in the international break. I think Carsley didn't necessarily have a great international break for England. And then on top of that, I guess, which I don't know, how England felt pressed to do this by the English media, but I guess the rumors of Ten Hag might be getting fired came up, and Tuchel was, I guess, the next in line. I guess he was the one that was being talked to for the Manchester United job, and they just said, "Well, we can't miss out on this guy," because I do think, there was one guy that was like, "There's no Pep is too good for the English job," and I you're probably right. I'm not saying that you're not wrong on that. I do think Pep. I think at this point any job's too good for Pep, but
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'd rather have Pep be the president of FIFA. I think he'd do a better job than Infantino. But I think
that's a thing.
Yeah, that's another overreaction in some sense. But I think also, like, the rumors were there. England was monitoring Pep Guardiola. I think they were hoping that Manchester City gets the death penalty for financial with all these I don't know how many charges they have at this point. I know it was like 114. I think 115.
I think we're in the 130s now. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, this is like. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Kelcey, but I'm getting massive University of Miami vibes of like the death penalty rumors, and like hearing this investigation is going and ongoing until they found that there was somebody that's investigating was just as corrupt or did some corruption with one of the people that were being investigated on, to the point where then I think NCAA had to investigate that issue. And so then to the point where they're like, all right, well, we got nothing here. So,
yeah. I mean, you can go there. We can go to the USC Reggie Bush Heisman Trophy taken away. We can go SMU's death penalty the first time around. This just feels like, I mean, heck, we can go into how Qatar got the 2022 or 2020, for the World Cup. Like there's so many, something about this doesn't fit type of situations. And you're just wondering when the penalty is ever going to come, if it's ever going to come. And nobody seems to want to pull that trigger and be that. Really, that's what it feels like. Really, at the end of the day, is nobody wants to seem to be on the end of the smoking gun. They all want to have the smoking gun. They want to make it happen. But at the same time, nobody wants to have the history notation of being the guy that did that or being the gal that did that. That shut down Man City for however long. Just it's not like a Portsmouth situation where Portsmouth got relegated and due to financial issues. This is a bigger deal. This is a team that's been overperforming a lot lately. So it's I think it's twofold. Yeah, I think there's some sketchy stuff in the background, but I also think there's nobody that wants to be on the hook for it because in 10 years, FFP rules are not going to be here. So, they're going to change it again. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if anything ever does happen. I mean, at this point in time, I might as well. I'm expecting to be dead by the time it actually happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point, like the contracts are just going to get not even contracts, the signings, like the transfer prices are just going to be astronomical. I mean, we're not that far off from a 300 million, transfer. We're not that far off from a
300 million within the Big Five league specifically, because I mean, obviously you have the Saudi league paying however much money for.
Yeah, and I mean, like the rumors that PSG wants to get Lamine Yamal, and I mean that honestly might be 500 mil right there. Yeah. But yeah, it's got the transfer fees are just going to get significantly higher. Financial fair play, like I said, it's just one massive joke. But kind of coming back to the whole Tuchel thing, I think that obviously English FA was trying to monitor that. Maybe they felt some sort of pressure where they're like, well, if that doesn't pan out, because I think that trial's gonna go on for at least a year, at minimum a year. It's gonna keep going. It's just 115 charges. That's a lot of charges to go through. But I think I think at this point the English FA was just had a lot of pressure. I think Lee Carsley, if he had any shot at trying to prove to the English FA that he was worthy of being their coach, I think he shot it off. He kind of ruined that from those that not even friendlies. I think it was like Nations League tournaments. And I think that obviously didn't pan out well for him. So I think they just needed to go and get someone, and Tuchel was the better option that was left available, because that was either that or a Zinedine Zidane who hasn't even been on a training pitch for at this point 4 years now. So
has it been that long? It doesn't feel like it's been that long. I feel like it's only been 2 years.
It's been 3 years.
Wow.
At least 3 years. Yeah, it's been a while. But I think you're right. Maybe this, like, obviously, because there was two jobs that were very similar to what happened here, with England. And I mean, the other job is the U.S. job. Like, are you more confident with Mauricio Pochettino with the U.S.? Because these are both essentially guys that are here just to. And I'll be honest, I don't think Pochettino's going past 2026. I think once he does his thing with the World Cup, he's going to go, because I think Pochettino prefers clubs. I don't think he's an international coach. I don't think he wants to be an international coach, but he's just like, hey, if I can make this U.S. men's national team competitive, and if I can get them good enough to where people are like, wow, look what he did in this short span of time, he's going to get another big profile job, whether it be another opportunity with PSG, maybe a Bundesliga opportunity, maybe even in the Serie A. But like he'll get his opportunity again. And I think Tuchel's the same way. I think Nick said it right. I think Tuchel's a club manager as well. I think he likes being able to go get players that he wants, because now England, that's his options, right? That's the player pool.
Which, let's be honest, is not a bad player pool to have. If we're being fair, there's a lot of talented players in the England setup. It's just a matter of actually going and getting them. And there's a lot of talented dual national players that are eligible, dual and tri-national players that are eligible for England, that you can go out and get. But no, I mean, to your point, I think Pochettino has a better opportunity to succeed than Tuchel does. And I think the big reason why is Pochettino has something to prove. Tuchel is still riding high off of gifts in his coaching career, and I feel terrible saying that, but it does kind of feel like that. Whereas Pochettino, he has something to prove. He wants to prove that he can take what should be a powerhouse international squad and turn them into that on their home soil and become a legend coaching in just 2 years, and then parlay that into his own next career stop like he did previously with Tottenham, and then when he moved on. He has something to prove. Tuchel, on the other hand, it feels like it's very much something that's just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm just filling in. I'll do the best I can. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to get us dropped below 10th in the FIFA World Cup rankings, but at the same time, we're probably not going to stiff the finals again. So sorry. So yeah, I'm going to say Pochettino is the better option out of the two. But yeah, you're right. I think they're both fair in their assessment as far as like comparing the two. I think they're both club managers. We talked about this before. Last time I was on the show about my feelings on Pochettino and his management style. I think it could be good, depending on developmental abilities. Just because if you can set a developmental plan for an entire organization from top to bottom in U.S. soccer, then okay, maybe we can do something there. That also requires longevity. So, maybe after 2 years, we're not going to see that, but maybe if he's able to stick around 6, different conversation. But yeah, as between the two, Pochettino definitely has a better opportunity than Tuchel, which seems weird to say that a U.S. manager has a better opportunity to parlay it into something better than an England manager. So I guess take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty good. I like that overreaction, honestly. Even though it has nothing to do with this past weekend, but I think you wanted to get. You needed to let it out.
Stop thinking. I can't stop thinking about it, man. It's been bothering me for literally an entire week. Like there's a whole week of news, and I couldn't even think about this weekend's game. It was still like, still driving me crazy.
Yeah. My overreaction this weekend is Rodrigo would have scored those goals. And this isn't me being biased as an adopted parent of Rodrigo, but this is just me, like, I have never been so pissed. And I talked about this on the intro for the episode already, but I'm getting constantly reminded. Like at this point, I feel like it's the Spider-Man meme where everywhere I go, I see their faces. And yeah, like, I mean, literally, I remember, like, this is Kelcey, and Kelcey knows how patient I am when watching football. Even when my team's doing terrible, I will sit there and still watch the game and just absorb what's going on. Like, I can still kind of maybe pinpoint something that I can probably take to the next game. I can't take anything from this game. There's not one positive thing besides the first half wasn't that bad. But aside from that El Clasico, that was literally the most embarrassing I have ever felt as a Madrista watching El Clasico. And mind you, there's been worse losses in El Clasico for Real Madrid, but this one felt significantly worse. And I think it was because I felt like nobody, and I mean nobody, adjusted at all to the game. And Mbappe just stayed offside. This dude was, and I've said this, I'm literally repeating myself from the intro, but the dude did just, you're faster than any center back, like, period. Like the next, I can't think of another center back that could keep up with him. You're literally fast. You could be 5 steps behind that center back, and you would have still got to that ball before they did. Like it was infuriating to see a guy stay constantly. I was like, at this point, like you're just doing it. You're just staying offside. Like there at that point, like you're Ted Lasso. Like you don't know what offside is when you started off with Real Madrid, and yeah, it just to me, Rodrigo would have gotten 2 goals. Like he would have gotten caught offside at least maybe 2 or 3 times, but the other 4 times, at least 4 shots, maybe 3 on target and 2 goals. That's at least me being my bias towards Rodrigo, but still, like, you mean to tell me you're being caught offside and you don't think maybe it's me? No, you just kept going. And Edward tried to like be a good friend, Edward's a saint, and I love him for that, but he was like, well, I could see the first one being kind of 50-50. But, at the rest, there's still 7 offside calls that Mbappe got. And it was infuriating. The first half, Real Madrid had, like, clear opportunities to put this game at least in a positive note for them, because I think if they would at least scored 1 goal in the first half, the second half could have been a different story. But after that, I mean, they got mollywopped back to back, like within 2 minutes by Robert Lewandowski. Lamine Yamal sets the record for youngest goal scorer in El Clasico history, which which sucks for me because I do like Lamine Yamal. I think he's a very talented player. The guy, I don't even want to say he's the future anymore. I think this is his time. We're it's Lamine Yamal's world, and we're just living in it now at this point. And then Rafinha just having to. That's how you know it's bad. Not that Rafinha scored a goal, but the way Rafinha scored the goal. Like, he just chipped it in. It's not Lunen's fault. I'm not going to blame this on Lunen. I don't think it's Lunen's fault. I think the same thing happens if you have Courtois. The same exact thing is going to happen with Courtois on the field. Lucas Vazquez got burnt. The same thing goes for Furlan. Furlan Mendy was just couldn't defend against Lewandowski. That's why the 2 goals happened. Well, at least the first goal happened was because of Mendy just not being able to compose himself. But yeah, it was just a bad game, man. And for the first time ever, I turned off the game. Wow. I was like, I'm done. I don't need to watch this anymore. And it hurts. It hurts, Kelcey, because you know I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
But I was livid. I just never seen a team give up. Because I felt like they gave up after the second goal from Lewandowski. After that, they were just not trying. And you can see Luka Modric trying when he comes into the game. And yeah, they should have took out Mendy. They should have taken him out a lot earlier than they did. Not saying that Frank Garcia would have made it any better, but still, like, it's and I'm not gonna use the injuries as an excuse. That's not me. Like, the players you have out on the field, that's who you have out on the field. I mean, you're going up against academy. The lineup that Barcelona brought out was mostly academy players, and that's the other thing that sucks more. Again, Barca's back. Barca is back, dude. That's the worst part of it all is that Barcelona is back because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is developing players for Spain. Could have been Catalonia at one point, but it's still Spain. And they're just bringing out academy players now, and they're playing and performing well for Barcelona. Meanwhile, Real Madrid has spent I don't know how much money, and they can't beat a guy that's not even sniffing like a third or an eighth or a 16th of that contract. So if there was one positive I could say is I think Vinny did play fairly well. But after that, I don't know, man. I don't know what you do. I don't know if you bench Mbappe. I really don't. I don't know what you do here. Because you changed the formation up to accommodate Mbappe and Vinny's stupid situation where Mbappe, and it's the worst part is because we said it too. I said it too. I was like, Mbappe's just not a 9. I knew it was gonna happen. Like, I saw the writing in the sand, and I just somehow was thinking, maybe it's Real Madrid. You do everything for Real Madrid, and I don't know anymore, man. I just don't know. I don't know, man. And I think Barcelona's going to win La Liga. And that's the worst part of it all.
Yeah. I have to go to the offsides thing for a second because, Mbappe set the single game El Clasico offsides record for a single player with 8 offsides. Most by a player in a La Liga game since 2009. So yeah, that's tough. 2 things to it. One, credit to Barcelona's back line for their structure. It's not easy to carry a high line, especially considering your goalkeeper in Inaki Peña is kind of left on an island by himself because he's going to be one-on-one versus Mbappe if Mbappe can time his runs. Problem was Mbappe never bothered to time his runs. He really just sat, which is the crazy thing. This is the thing that always has bothered me. If you are that fast, stand at the halfway line on your side of the halfway line. And then as soon as you make eye contact, then you start running and that ball will be there and you will be fine. You were just that fast and your teams are that good. They can play any ball they need to. But he doesn't seem to ever recognize that. There's a little bit of laziness of getting back on side as well that plays into that. But I don't know what your answer is if you're Real Madrid. I know from the game standpoint, Lewandowski's back on the score sheet twice. Lamine Yamal, Rafinha. We talked about this, last time I was here for Lamine Yamal's ability. We knew he was going to step up. And then if he can step up for Barcelona at some point in time, he's going to carry the old heads in Lewandowski and maybe even Rafinha to another, good year. And the scary thing was always going to be for Real Madrid, aging back line. How do you hold up? It should have been fine, but as you mentioned, Mendy just not good enough. And I feel like that's been your guys' Achilles heel all season with Mendy has been, at times he just forgets that he's playing defense. And that's just, despite, again, talk about a guy with all the speed in the world, Mendy's there. And yet at the same time, he gets beat too easily. So yeah, honest to goodness, this is crazy from the standpoint of, I don't remember seeing this lopsided of a performance. I know there's been goals, there's been score lines that are lopsided in the El Clasicos that I can remember. But as far as just, it felt like one team was playing as a high school level of mentality of how to play the game, and the other one was playing a, doctorate level of education on just tactics alone. It was kind of crazy where it really was for Real Madrid at times. Just kick it up to Mbappe and see what he can do. And turns out Mbappe was just standing outside the whole time. And then on the flip side, you have Barcelona doing, I won't even say tiki-taka like it once was. It was very intricate passing and not even to the level of, what they used to do. But at the same time, there was still an homage to it at times. And really to kind of flip the switch, especially that second goal was just game changing. But I don't know how you fix Mbappe. You just I feel like you just kind of have to hope he figures it out. He's scored 8 times since arriving in all competitions. But at the same time, it's when you pay that much money for somebody, I expect that 8 to be like a 20 by now, considering his talents. And I'm sure if you take all the offsides goals he scored, you probably get close to 20. I know you don't like to hear that, but probably comes pretty close.
Yeah, and I think of a text that I told that when I was kind of when Edward, once again, flowers to Edward because he's just a great best friend. And honestly, like I will always tell you, because everyone's always like, how does that work out where you have your best friends and one's a Barca fan, the other one's a Madrid, how does that work out? And it's mainly because Edward doesn't talk shit. Edward has never been like a shit talker. Like, even though we joke around and like, literally I was walking my dog and, me and Edward live like in the same neighborhood. And like Edward was just like literally just driving home from work. And like, as he saw me, I flipped him the bird. Like, that's literally just our relationship as best friends. Yeah, once again, me and Edward know each other since we were 4 years old, since I was 4 years old. But like, he doesn't rub it in. Like, he doesn't, like, you can't talk shit to Edward because Edward is like, kind of like when I talk about teenagers, you don't know what's going on in their head. You just don't know what's going on in his head. And obviously, he's got other responsibilities. He's a father of twin boys and all that stuff, which they just recently celebrated their birthday the week before. And so, like, there's other things that Edward cares more about. Though, like, it was just when he was watching the game, because he was like, he had to rewatch the game. Like, he didn't actually get to see it live. And he was just like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. They're actually doing not that bad. When he was watching the first half, like, he's like, I was like, no, you're right. The first half wasn't that bad. Just wait till the second half. And then he was like, oh,
yeah,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that sums up everybody's reaction to that second half performance. That was an egg of all eggs in the second half.
And look, I wasn't going into this game expecting like an easy dub, and I was not. I actually had a lot of feelings with the way that Real Madrid has been playing so far this season. It has been very overwhelming. Once again, just reiterate, I'm not pressing the panic button. I'm not even looking at the panic button. The panic button is like in 2 rooms away from me. I'm not panicking too much because kind of the same thing happened last year, right? Like, Real Madrid was very slow going into the season. Everybody was like, oh, Bellingham's a bust. Oh, he's not really that guy. And then has one of the greatest first debut seasons that anyone can ever imagine. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because the thing that was different was Mbappe and Bellingham accepted a role that he doesn't play for Real Madrid. And he did it, and he performed it well. I don't know if Mbappe is capable of accepting the role that Ancelotti wants him to play. And the worst part now is we don't have a guy that can play the role that Ancelotti wants them to play. Because Joselu, for some weird reason, so we signed Joselu to come to stay with Real Madrid, which I had nothing against it. I think he's a great role player. But then we ship him out to Saudi Arabia. And I think that was not a good idea because I think he gets the job done of what a nine's supposed to do. Because honestly, Real Madrid doesn't have a nine. And you can say Endrick, but he's just too young. I wouldn't expect him to have done. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't expect him to do anything right now. He just does some weird. Endrick does what he does, and I don't know what exactly that is, but it works for him, I guess.
He plays like the original Ronaldo. That's his play style, which is he's just gonna his job is to get ball, score ball. That's his job.
Which you're right, but he also does like that the goal he scored against Stuttgart in the Champions League, right? Like, yeah, everybody's like, oh, look how look at that amazing goal, and it's like. One, that shot was way like very slow. I just want to point that out. And then two,
very, very poor dribbling that somehow got through.
Caught everybody by surprise because no one in their right mind would have shot it from that far. Yeah. And except for your Endrick, because clearly he's not in the right mind. But you know what? It worked out. Like even Mbappe's reaction to that goal was like I think spot on to where it was like, what are you doing? Oh wait, never mind. All right, that works. But yeah, like it's. Like, okay, so this is what I told Edward when I was having my whole rant about well, I said a lot of things. Okay, this is how the text started. Mbappe is the worst thing to happen to me. I'm not saying I'm giving him the hazard treatment, but and then Edward responds, I couldn't watch the game. I don't know where to watch it. And then I had to explain to him it was on ESPN Deportes or ESPN Plus. I told him if you had the Hulu bundle, that might be the way to go. Edward's like, I don't. And I was like, all right, well, I guess you can't watch the Liga. And then he's like, oh, I do have it.
He probably didn't realize he might have the Disney Plus bundle, and then he just got it through that.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what happened. He's like, oh, I got it. And it's like, all right, so now you can rewatch Mbappe getting called offside when he's the fastest player on the field. And then he starts watching the game. And then, so this is Edward's like notes. I see that Barca was playing an offside trap. So they've been playing Vinny so they've been making Vinny play a bit back. And I was like, yeah. Mbappe is playing too close to the defender's shoulder. These are Edward's notes. All right, he said first offside is kind of 50-50 of being offside. Second attempt, yeah, he was definitely offside. Yeah. Edward is Rain Man when it comes to soccer. I just want to point that out sometimes. So Edward keeps pointing it out. He's like, he keeps playing close to the line. He can't which is funny because he can outrun anybody on the field. I haven't seen a goal yet. It's about to be the second half. I was like, there's no goals in the first half. And then he's like, okay, so this is where I told him, like, that's where second half, like, that's where everything falls apart for Real Madrid. And this is his response. Really? They seem solid. Barca's counterattack seems to be taking toll on Real, though. Barca just can't finish.
Well,
I like how spot on Edward is.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, so then I go on this whole tangent. I get, like, Edward lets me go ahead and vent, and then I wrap it up with, now if you excuse me, I'm going to cry myself to sleep while listening to Johnny Cash. And so, and I did. Not the crying part, but I did. This game, like I said, this game was bad. And, I woke up the next morning. I had to relive it because, it was everywhere. I watched the news in Spanish, so of course. So this is what happened in football. And so I had to I was like, great, now I got to rewatch this crap. And obviously also my brother-in-law is a Barca fan, which also, I should also say this. I love my brother-in-law because he didn't say anything. He didn't mention anything. My sister was the one that brought it up.
It's going to be the family. It's the one closest to you.
So she's like, well, it's because also my brothers were also Real Madrid fans. And so she was like, dang, so the one time Carlos decided to finally watch the Real Madrid game, they lose. And I was like, oh, you don't say. So I'm officially banning my brother from watching any more Real Madrid games. Yeah. Even though that's not necessarily going to happen. But he's also a busy father, so he's probably so he probably doesn't get a chance to do that very
You
often.
probably didn't even know the game was on half the time.
Yeah, so there we go. So once again, I think Rodrigo, had he been in that position, obviously he didn't play because he was injured. Once again, no excuse. But I feel like the game would have been different. I think if Real Madrid would at least scored one goal, this game would have been completely different. Not saying that Barca doesn't win that game. I think Barca was definitely. It's just. Can I just point out one thing about Barcelona?
Yeah.
I'm impressed by the high press. I was very impressed by it because, everyone talks about it. Hansi Flick, like he's going to turn him into cross country and track and field stars by the end of his for the first summer training and all that. Which also, by the way, I should probably apologize to Hansi Flick. Apparently, I don't know what I'm talking about when I said that you were not a Barca manager, because I was clearly wrong. I didn't expect you to use the academy. You did use the academy. You didn't buy anybody, at least not that I know of. I mean, unless you want to count Chesney, but he's not even playing. Yeah, I think Hansi Flick kind of knows what he's doing now. I guess the whole German thing was kind of a fluke, if you will. But yeah, he got them fit enough to maintain a high press for 90 minutes. That's impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, look, he's a disciple of the Jurgen Klopp system, which is press until you fall down and then press again. It's that level of kind of insanity almost, where even if you're not on offense, you're on offense. It feels like, and it's effective, and especially tactically sound back lines, and when a goalkeeper can play a good sweeper keeper style. Yeah, it helps when the opposing forward doesn't know how to stay on side either. But it is impressive nonetheless. I mean, Hansi Flick has done a good job so far. I'm still waiting for the wheels to fall off like it does with every Hansi Flick team, but for now it looks good for sure.
Yeah, I'm just hoping somebody can expose. I mean, it's not hard to expose a high press. It's not really. I mean, technically, Real Madrid could have done it, but Mbappe wanted to stay offside. Yeah, I'm gonna need a break from Mbappe. I don't know. I mean, he's gonna play next week, but I mean, still, it's just.
Well, maybe we'll get more Endrick.
I'm gonna change my tune. I'm going to change my tune if Mbappe goes and scores like 2 goals. I'm gonna change my tune all over again. I mean,
I'll give you 1 goal every 2 games. If he can give you a goal every other game, I think you'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I'll probably. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna give him the Eden Hazard treatment, but it's definitely getting close to it. But like, I mean, Eden Hazard was bad. Like he was just. Yeah. He came in bad. I mean, I don't think Mbappe came in bad.
He came in out of shape too. That was the whole different story with him versus Mbappe.
Oh man, and then him wearing that like 50 jersey.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, he shot himself in the foot too by trying to wear number 7. But yeah, it's not great. But like I said, I'm not on the panic button. I think Real Madrid will still finish in the Champions League position. I think they'll still do. I think they're still gonna have a say in the Champions League. I mean, even though they could be, and I mean, it is very Real Madrid to be terrible in La Liga, and terrible is second place, by the way, not like relegation zone, but like, and then somehow manage to win the Champions League. It's always been Real Madrid's milieu in some sense, but yeah, my overreaction is if Rodrigo was on the field, this game wouldn't have been as bad, because once again, the only one that was trying to make this 4-3-3 formation with Mbappe and Vinny work was Rodrigo. And so if someone wises up and tries to put a bag in front of Rodrigo, which I mean, I'm hoping he stays loyal to Real Madrid. But I can see him, if he leaves Real Madrid, I think that front is going to get maybe decimated. Maybe, but then at the same time, then that opens up Mbappe on the wing. And I kind of don't hate that idea. But then we don't have like a true 9 besides Endrick. Endrick is the only 9 technically on the roster.
Oh, that's fair.
So, but he's not really a 9, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe I miss Joselu. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, technically, I'm supposed to name my firstborn child after Joselu now. So because I said that after I think was it the Bayern Munich semifinal game? It was
I
some
believe
game.
so.
Yeah, it was that. I probably did say that. So I'm sorry to whoever I have a child with, but we're gonna have to name our kid Joselu. Um, maybe I don't know. I promised a lot of people I'd name my first child after them, so it's not like a guarantee. So we'll see. I say a lot of dumb things, but we'll see about that. But yeah, those overreactions. So,
Nice.
hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Candidips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Candidips CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports. We'll go right into headlines, and it's very American soccer focused on this one. But I'll start things off with this huge bomb that was just dropped on us for when it comes to the MLS, and that is after MLS, not necessarily MLS, but maybe FIFA getting criticized for the all of a sudden qualification of Inter Miami to the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, which a lot of people came at me about that clip, which I mean positive because that's the point of the clip is to get people's attention, but like all of a sudden everybody's like, no, they're hosting it, that's why they qualified. The host has to play in the tournament. I'm like, I mean, you could just say Seattle's technically the host. I mean, if that's what you want to go.
That's not what FIFA said. FIFA said they got it because they won Supporter Shield.
Which I love the comment that because like someone's like, oh no, they're doing because of the host. I was like, that's not what Infantino said, and they're like, it doesn't matter what Infantino says. It doesn't matter what the president of FIFA said.
It literally only matters what Infantino says.
He literally said it when they were lifting the Supporter Shield. Like he's like, for winning this Supporter Shield, you qualify.
What was it? Like an hour after they lifted the shield, they had the shield ceremony. Yeah. It was literally an hour later that they announced it. That was if I timeline's right.
Yes, I was like, bro, Infantino literally said for winning the Supporter Shield, you qualify for the 2020 and all these. I'm gonna just assume that they're just Messi stands. Look, I get it.
Yeah,
it makes for viewership wise because obviously the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup is not been a popular decision by FIFA. Like a lot of fans, not necessarily, maybe not fans, but players are definitely like, we might just protest this. Like we might start a strike, and that's mainly off of Rodri and Man City. But still, like you're once again you're overworking these players, and your solution is, how about you guys not have a summer vacation and play this FIFA Club World Cup where you guys might get transferred over to another team during this tournament.
You know what's funny about this? I've always found the Club World Cup thing hilarious because I've always felt like European teams just didn't care.
No,
because it's literally their off season and they're just sending academy players to go get time. And I say that every time, and I'm always surprised to see 1 or 2 big names in the squads. But especially going into a World Cup year, it feels like 2025 is a weird one to be having. I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's all just, once again, it's just FIFA not necessarily reading the room, which is players have been complaining about being overly worked with a lot of matches. And we talked about it plenty of times. Like, not only are you playing your league play, but you're also playing your league's tournament, and then you're also throwing. And I mean, if you play in the Premier League, that's 2 tournaments, right? Carabao and the FA Cup. And I mean, granted, Carabao Cup is usually the first half of the season, and then the second half you do FA Cup. But still 2 tournaments. If you're in Champions League or Europa Conference League, you're guaranteed 8 matches because the group stage. Look, it's not group stage anymore. I guess league stage is it? I don't.
Yeah. The what round robin? There's not even round robin. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Table stage, which by the way, I'm actually kind of liking this format. By the way, but once again, you're playing a lot of matches, right? That's what the players have all been complaining about. And then essentially, you would have a summer break, but obviously, if you're world class, you're going to play for your national team, and that's usually when the tournaments are going on, and then you go back into your league training, getting ready for the new season. But I think it's still, once you finish the tournament, you're still like, they finish the tournament within a month. Like not many tournaments last longer than that, and so like you still have a period to rest, essentially. But adding a FIBA Club World Cup, especially for a team like who wins the Champions League, you went through a long strenuous season, and now you're like, hey, guess what? You're flying over to America to play a tournament. And it's once again FIFA read the room, but this isn't what we're talking about here. But MLS, and I think that's also a factor. But I think as Messi comes in, they're gonna start changing things for the sake of what's going on for the way Messi's gonna view things for the sport, which is crazy because I think this is something that everyone's been complaining about for years about MLS, and it's interesting that MLS is now wanting to make these changes. And I think it's also in circulation towards the fact that we have the World Cup coming in 2026. But MLS is in discussions of changing the season schedule from a spring-fall sport to now being a fall-spring sport. So essentially following what the rest of the world is doing, which is starting in fall, August. I guess you can say August. I guess some people might not say that's fall, but starting in August and then ending it in May, essentially just like every other league does in the world, including Liga MX. And it's one of those things that I always said needed to be done because if you're gonna sign a new player, having them come off of January, it's kind of tricky because it's tricky because they've been playing elsewhere. That's giving them like less than a month or two to kind of gel with the team. Everybody's not in shape because they're going into their offseason training. This guy's probably fresher than most people, and then having to gel with guys, and then also the summer transfer window is also kind of tricky because then you're in mid-season. You get you probably these players just finished their season. They're getting brought into a new team that's in the middle of a season, and now they have to gel with everybody at the same time, like try to compete in the regular season of the MLS. So it's a lot of tricky stuff. I think for transfers, the logistics makes more sense to do it where the summer transfer, now you have like a longer transfer window to try to acquire new players and get them meshing for the off season. And I think that winter transfer window I think it makes sense. I think it makes the most sense in the world to do it. And then I think also it's, especially in the world when the World Cup comes, it's gonna look weird when you have MLS games going on when the World Cup is happening.
Literally in the same stadiums. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This should have happened a long time ago. Should have happened, 6 years ago when it was proposed to the MLS commissioners group. And then they voted it down then. And then, it was like right around the Centenario, the Copa America Centenario. And then, decided no, and then kept going. It doesn't make sense. It hasn't made sense that they're going to continue to do this in the American school methodology and not the entire world soccer schedule. It makes, them changing it's about time. They've changed everything else in soccer, U.S. soccer, to try to match up with the rest of the world except for their scheduling. So now having the scheduling on the same rotation is going to be helpful for a lot of things. You mentioned the transfer window, and a part of the transfer window that I've always found interesting is when American players go overseas in a summer transfer window or summer trial, they usually do well in that trial in those first two games, but they fade off by November, December every single time. And a big part of that's because they have been playing then at that point in time for a solid 12 months. And that's something that, you talk about the issue with the Club World Cup and things like that, where players are just playing too much. you see it all the time where American soccer players go overseas. Now you're like, all right, well, what's the point of them, trying to go overseas if they can play 6 months in the league and then they're immediately jettisoned to the bench because you don't really get a chance to adapt to the new stylings. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it in long term impact it can have for both American players, but also the MLS. I think it's going to be nothing but good, and I also think there's a potential to finally get off that retirement league stigma that the MLS has attached to it. I think that's a big part of this as well, where there's an opportunity now that you're matched up with the rest of the world to actually get young, talented players who are interested in coming to play and not just 6-month rentals, I'm interested in coming to LA after playing my entire career in Germany. That's what I'm going to do. Or if you're Pirlo, playing my entire career in Italy, and I'm gonna come down, play in New York for last 2-3 seasons. That's cool, great for the start of MLS, but I feel like the MLS, if they ever want to move past that, they need to figure it out. And this is, I think, the first step to trying to figure that out. So thank goodness it's finally happening. It took long enough. I'm ready to see. We've talked about this before. You talk about golden generation of soccer. You can't have a golden generation of soccer if we're not on the same schedule as the rest of the world, because we're never going to match up in soccer if that's the case. So now we finally get matched up with the international windows, with also the regular schedule. So this is going to be good. Nothing but good for the MLS.
Yeah, obviously they're in discussions for it. And then I think it'd be interesting to see how they were to implement it, because obviously if the goal is to do it by the 2026 FIFA World Cup, I don't know if you end the season. Obviously they're going to do the 2025 season, so come 2025 March, April, the new season kicks off. Obviously, San Diego FC, that's the debut of that new team. So they've already announced, that match at least. At least their 2 debut matches, their home opener and their first match as an MLS team, which I believe is against the LA Galaxy. But I think so 2025 is still going to go. My question would be so do you just 2025 season's over and then you just take a long break for the spring and then you just kick it off in August, or what do you do here?
I almost think you have to kind of almost parlay the 2 seasons into each other. I think you have to maybe extend 2025. And I don't mean necessarily the 2025 season, but play the 2025 season on maybe a abbreviated schedule. So maybe you're finishing 2025 season in August instead of here we are end of October going into November and we're just now in the playoffs. Instead of that, maybe be in August, you're finishing 2025 and then you're starting the 2026 season on January 1. And so you play it for the 4 or 5 months, take your summer break, and then maybe cap it off in the fall, and then the next year you fully rotate it. If that makes sense, or you just play an abbreviated spring season in 2026 and call it swell, and then you do take, the entire break off, and then you start the next season. That's always a possibility. I think that no matter what way you cut it, you're probably going to get a 6-month break somewhere in there. But at the same time, that may not be the worst situation for some of these teams. Now, I do think there are some teams that maybe you have a little bit more concern about than others, but I don't think there's a lot of MLS teams right now that you're very concerned about them making it through a 6-month temporary hiatus where they can play, in maybe Continental Cups, random club friendlies, things like that. That's no problem to go and do. Maybe match up against Norway and Norwegian teams. They play on that off season as well. So there's opportunities, but just maybe abbreviated seasons on both sides, and World Cup in between.
Yeah, and I think also the benefit, and I've said this plenty of times when it comes to the CONCACAF Champions Cup or whatever they decide to call it. I'm sure they'll probably try to change the Champions Cup format again. But when you think about it, these MLS teams, by the time that tournament starts, you're still going through your off-season stuff. I know the teams that qualify for Champions Cup, they usually have them start earlier their off-season training to prepare for that tournament. But most of the other teams, especially the teams from Central America and Mexico, they've already been playing in their season. There've been a few games into their season, so they're more in game shape, right? Versus a team that's in off-season training or playing some friendlies here and there. It's completely different versus playing an actual like competitive match, and I think kind of gives other teams a slight edge. I know the MLS teams usually still win, and I mean, and obviously this isn't more. It's more towards when they play against a Liga MX team, where that team's kind of informed. That's kind of where I'm mentioning more towards, especially if MLS is trying to at some point overthrow Liga MX, and I think that this also is a way that can help it, as well as helping with player acquisitions. But I think scheduling is one thing, and that I think that's it's a good thing that they're doing that. But obviously, the next thing is how are they going to handle player acquisitions? Are they going to increase the salary cap? Are they going to what do they do with as far as like designated players? Do you add another designated player? The other initiative options like the academy usage, like are they are we able to at one point try to find a way to end pay to play? And I think pay to play is probably going to be something a little bit tougher to battle in general, just because of the fact that some of these academy players do end up playing college sports. But now obviously with NIL, maybe that changes some things too, where pay to play isn't necessarily an issue for a lot of these guys that do go to college. Because that's still a route for some of these academy players that don't necessarily maybe meet the requirements just yet for MLS Next Pro or MLS. But I think that this is I think a good start. I know it's still in discussion, but it's an interesting good start for MLS if they're choosing to maybe realize that maybe the MLS way isn't the only way to do things.
Don't tell Don Garber that, because did you see his comments this weekend about how the MLS is doing it right with their DP and their draft style? And yeah, let's not. Don Garber needs to calm down. The MLS way is efficient for America, but honestly, for the rest of the world, it doesn't make sense. And even for America, it's kind of BS. So
I'm sure Infantino did not have a discussion with him about anything that had to pertain to that.
No, I wish he would.
But yeah, so once again, it's a discussion. It's not necessarily set, but there is talks that MLS might be changing their scheduling, which I think is a good thing. But all right, the first headline that we actually prepared for, because that was actually kind of off the riff, which I think that's very impressive that we did. So Evander, if anyone knows who Evander is, he currently plays for the Portland Timbers. Actually finished as an MVP candidate. So a lot of people have praised him a lot, especially in the second half of the season of what he's been able to do with Portland. Portland did get into that wild card spot for the MLS Cup playoffs. And fun, kind of bizarre story. And maybe I want to hear what Kelcey thinks about this before we move on to the actual storyline. So Portland finished at 9th place, meaning that they came in as the lowest seeded team in the playoffs. They were going to go up against the Vancouver Whitecaps, which is a rival, a Cascadia rival. And Vancouver, 8th seed, home field advantage, at least for that wild card game. They had to change the location and actually had it be a home game for Portland. So Vancouver gave up a home game to give it to Portland because BC Place Stadium, the stadium that Vancouver Whitecaps has, was not going to be available for the Vancouver Whitecaps for a playoff game because of a monster truck rally. So the Vancouver Whitecaps gave up home field advantage because they couldn't reschedule a monster truck rally. Yeah. And obviously it's not a good look for MLS that they can't bully their way into having them reschedule, because most teams, most other leagues, and I can say this for pro sports, I'll give you a prime example, even though I know a lot of people hate my baseball team, the Houston Astros. Say what you want. I know 2017 happened, they cheated, blah 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 blah. But no, not 2017, 2015 actually, when they qualified for the wild card, and obviously they beat the Yankees for the first time in their playoff little history, because the Yankees still haven't beat the Astros in the postseason. Just want to bring that up. They're down. Right now, they're down 2-0 right now in the World Series, and I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking shit. Look, my weekend was bad. Okay, can I just have this?
Hey, I'm not stopping you by any means.
I mean, Kelcey hates the Yankees too, but
I hate the Dodgers more, but I do hate the Yankees.
fair enough. But anyways, so the Astros, Taylor Swift was supposed to have a concert during the postseason, and obviously this is 2015. No one knows what the Astros are going to do that year. This is now where Carlos Correa is getting called up, midway through the season. George Springer starting to become that leadoff hitter for the Astros. Obviously, everything kind of starts clicking. They get the wild card, they get that wild card spot and everything. So Taylor Swift was they actually talked to Taylor Swift, and she pushed back her concert date so that the Astros could play in their playoff matchup against Kansas City Royals, which if you guys don't know about 2015, Kansas City Royals won the World Series that year. But that's all you got to do is just talk to the person. They can probably, apparently the monster truck rally just couldn't do it. They're like, can't do it. We can't move the date. So because of that, Vancouver gave up home field advantage because of a monster truck rally. So before we go on with the whole Evander thing, Kelcey, what do you have to say about that?
How American for a Canadian team to have to give up their home field to a monster truck rally. That is the ultimate redneck moment of MLS soccer season, I think. But no, I do think it's hilarious. I mean, for what it's worth, they still were quote unquote the home team in Portland, despite it all. But we all know how that goes. You know, Providence Park and expect it to be a home game for you, even if you're technically a home team on the schedule. It's not exactly how that works. But irony, you mentioned 2015 Astros, by the way. Timbers won the World Cup or won the MLS Cup in 2015.
That's
so
right.
Ironically, a little matchup there for
everything
for
just comes right back.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think it's hilarious. It's the most American thing to have Vancouver have to move their event from Vancouver to an American city because of a very American sport in monster truck rally.
Yeah. So, well, clearly that didn't matter because Vancouver goes ahead and beats Portland 5-0.
Beats the smack out of them.
Yeah. So, which I guess it could be worse than the 4-0 loss. So, find a way back. But anyways, So Evander, once again, MLS MVP candidate, probably is not going to win it. If anything, it's probably going to be messy. It should be Cucho Hernandez, but, to each his own. But anyways, so Evander, like I said, big bright star of Portland. Portland, okay, so I'll say this about Portland, though. They've been very good on the attack. They just can't defend obviously, they gave up 5 goals in this game, so defensively they're terrible, which has been the theme as a playoff team. They gave up a lot of goals. They probably were, I think they came in with a negative goal differential, by the way.
Yes, they did.
So, yeah, so they weren't going to go far in the postseason, but still, I mean, like I said, Evander, for his efforts with that Portland team, enough to get a nod for at least an MVP shout. But so going into this, Evander ends up issuing an apology after the 5-0 loss, and this is the apology that he posted on social media. He's like, first, I want to apologize to all the fans who, on a Wednesday night, dropped everything to support us. It's really hard to lose the way we did. The truth is, losing is not in our plans. I hope not, but we have to deal with it. I want to say that we, the players, and the entire staff did everything we could to take Portland as far as possible. I believe that. However, sometimes we have no control over what happens, and what happens off the field reflects on the field. Portland fans do not deserve the people who have power over this club. People who say they are men but do not keep their word. People who are only there when the team wins. Unfortunately, these are things we have no control over. I have always fought and will continue to fight to put this team on top. To the fans, you deserve much more. Thank you for your unconditional support, and we'll see you next season. Oof. Also, if you guys want to make things even more sweeter at the end, after the loss, Evander plays blame on the GM, Ned Grabavoy, to his teammates and coach, Phil Neville. So he was like, guys, don't worry. This isn't on y'all. Our GM just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's telling that in the comments for the Ferreira commentary on X, if you scroll through the thread long enough, I do find it hilarious to see the comments from Portland fans supporting him. I'm not going to say I know what's happening on the inner workings of Portland's back office, but I can just say that it's owned conveniently enough by the same guy who sold the Portland Thorns following revelations of the club's handling of disgraced former coach Paul Riley and how bad that happened. So it would be the least surprising thing that this same ownership group has people running the club that maybe don't know how to keep their word, if you will. Now, I do find it hilarious just Evander's in-depth six-part thread there on his own tweet, or sorry, 4-part thread. I do think that's hilarious from the fact that it happened and it's still there. I mean, we're what, 4 days removed from it, 5 days removed when this comes, or will it be a week when this thing comes out? And I don't think it's getting deleted at this point in time. You know, I think it's telling that he does not care about his contract situation, and he would much rather voice his hatred, distaste, however you want to word those things, towards the GM and leadership for the club. And I think that's telling in a lot of ways. And looks like from fans' perspectives, a lot of them support him, which is interesting because if normally fans have a little bit more insight than people would like to give them credit for. And if the fans are on your side as a player, very few times can the club get away with mistreating you. So it's very interesting to see this. I do enjoy an MLS MVP candidate going off on his team, though, because it just makes me feel good on the inside that maybe the MLS might get better this way, because maybe we'll get out of the stupid, crappy owners that own some of these teams. So, yeah, no, I enjoy this, but I mean, it, yeah, doesn't surprise me in the least, given the names that have been thrown into this, and Grabavoy and Neville. Phil Neville's never been a fan of the MLS since he's been coaching here or been a part of the MLS. So, yeah, doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, and I mean, I think obviously, I think Evander at least sides with Phil Neville in some sense, because obviously he said it wasn't on him. It's just our GM sucks.
Yeah.
But I think I think that there's a lot of things stemming with Evander. I think he's committed to Portland. I think he loves being in Portland. I mean, they gave him a great opportunity. I mean, the dude's 26 years old, I think, at this point. He's not getting any younger. I mean, as far as maybe he's hoping to get a shot at Europe. I mean, he's definitely entering his prime years, if you will, as far as a player goes, especially an attacking player. And I think, yeah, he seems to be in some sense committed to Timbers, because he's trying to get into a contract negotiation to get a new contract to continue with Portland. And the real issue that Portland has right now is that he just wants a release clause, which, I mean, it's a very straightforward thing that money. I mean, if you guys want to know, for example, I believe Federico Valverde has like a €1 billion release clause. I mean, no one's going to pay that, but I mean, still, they have a release clause for him because, I mean, for example, Valverde is only going to get better. And if there's a team that's like, you know what, I could pay $1 billion for him. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's still, it's an option. And usually the release clause is maybe significantly much higher than the actual player, at least what his worth is on the contract. Because, once again, it's got to be so lucrative enough that a team has to be completely insane to want to even pay that release clause. But still, I don't know what the release clause was, but I think the dispute was just the fact that Timbers didn't want to put a release clause on him. Because, I mean, let's face it, he's an MVP candidate on a team that was very much terrible on the defensive side. Any team could be like, hey, he could be our missing piece to whatever we have going on. And, let's be honest, if he's not on the field, does Portland even have the season they have? Mind you, it's a 9th place finish. So it wasn't great on. It wasn't necessarily great on any terms, for Portland fans. But you take him away, do they finish in ninth? And I highly doubt that.
Yeah. So looking at it, by the way, his release clause. So it was a $13 million 3-year contract, 4.3 million average per year was originally the contract, and then they wanted that Evander's camp wanted a $15 million release clause in the deal, so worth more than the contract was itself. Which, if you're the Timbers, why would you not include that? You're going to get more money in return than you put into this guy, through this contract lifestyle. I don't get that part of it. Especially since it's the richest contract you guys would be paying out in club history. And all you'd have to do is agree to a release clause, which there are things that certain players get the luxury of requesting. Any top player on a team should have a release clause, in my opinion. Any young superstar signing their first big contract should have a release clause. Middling players who have been around the league, just traveling around, Will Johnson, for example, from back in the day, no. But in this situation with Evander, this just makes sense. Like, yeah, you don't have to, as a team, you don't pay anything into these release clauses. They're not a requirement for you to pay into. They are purely for the player to get released from this clause, that you get the money back as the club. And you're paying $13 million for the player. You have a potential to get $15 million back for somebody entering the release clause. By the way, just because they pay the release clause does not mean they get the guy in a transfer. It just means that it initiates the process, and then you go into negotiations, and then you still get a transfer fee. So not only is it $15 million, it's $15 million plus a transfer fee. So there's so much to this, that from a standpoint of trying to build the game, trying to build the club, trying to build everything for the future of your club, starting with a cornerstone piece in Evander, it's what he is right now for Portland. I don't know the reason why they wouldn't agree to this. It feels like a very simple request. It feels like I'm asking for paid time off in my contract at my job. And my job's like, you know what? Now, like, that's what this feels like. Like we're not going to give you, you're not going to have a job here anymore. You're going to be free to pursue your own passions, just because we don't want to give you PTO, even though that's what, you should get PTO. Like, this is the same concept. It's like nothing changes for the club if they get this release clause. I don't understand why any team wouldn't just be like, all right, yeah, that's fair. The release clause is worth more than your contract. I'm okay with that. It's like, you're going to pay him more in 3 years when he's 29 years old. You're not going to pay him more than $13 million a year, like, or $13 million total in over 3 years. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why Portland's being such a stick in the mud about this. I know they're the Timbers, but doesn't mean you can act like a stick in the mud.
No, yeah, and I think that that's just kind of a reflection of what maybe we don't know about this organization. I think they've been able to kind of rest on their laurels, if you will, about, this team is really good. They stay fairly competitive. If they go to the playoffs, they're usually a good dark horse pick team. And I think this year we saw a lot of changes. Obviously, they fired their coach. I forgot his name, but I believe he's Latin. I know he was with the New York Cosmos for a while. I don't even know if that team exists anymore. But I know he does like a lot of like commentary for MLS right now on Apple TV. I think
Giovanni Savarese.
There we go. Ever since then though, like, I mean, obviously they acquired Phil Neville, and I mean, you can't say they didn't try, at least on the defensive side, to improve it. They went and got Miller from Inter Miami. I think now we're learning more that it wasn't necessarily that he was a good defender. I think he was just one of those that he paid off from having Messi on his team. But I think the defensive flaws that Portland, once again, was kind of reason why they had their downfall. And which is funny because on whenever I'm on Wake Up MLS, there's always this one guy commenting that gets mad that we say that Portland's terrible defensively. They're like, "Oh no, we're actually not that bad." I'm like, "Do you see your goal differential? Because I think that says a lot of things." I mean,
yeah, no, it's just, it feels like they still operate themselves like a USL Pro team, and they haven't been in the USL since 2008, 2009, maybe 2010 is when they finally came up. Act like you're an MLS team now. It just feels like they're operating on a shoestring budget when they don't need to. The league has a set salary cap to prevent anybody from potentially going into financial issues like you might go into in the USL. That's the whole purpose of the salary cap.
Yeah, and I think it's
I
not
don't
fair.
get this.
It's not fair for a player that, and I think maybe Portland, I think, could have probably benefited from maybe getting a few more signings. It doesn't have to be like go get a guy from Europe or go get a guy from South America. Like there's teams in the MLS that are probably checked out this year. You probably could have added someone from one of those situations.
Yeah.
Like you could have gotten yourself. You could have gotten options. Like why weren't you the one going after Teenage DB when FC Cincinnati went and got him? Like there's things that you could have done to at least improve your situation where you're not in a wild card spot. But no, you're like, we have this attack. We have these guys are scoring a bunch of goals. So what if we're giving up also 5 goals as we're scoring 3? Like who cares about that part? It just that nothing was learned from it. And I think it is alarming that this guy's still the guy that was connected to that whole scandal with the Portland Thorns. Is still even owning an MLS team, let alone just owning a team, period. And I mean, NWSL is a very, very tricky situation where lots of things are just happening in there. And I know the San Diego FC, I forgot what they're called now.
San Diego Wave.
San Diego Wave. Yes, thank you. I know they're going there. There's a potential scandal that's going on over there as well too. So there's a lot of shit going on in NWSL. And I mean, they got rid of him, but clearly there's still a lot more issues with that league in general. But we'll see what happens, man. I think you don't say these things and expect to come back, is what I'm saying. And I think he also knows that. I think that there's going to be a team that wants him. I mean, who's not going to miss out on an opportunity with a player that plays the way he plays. I'm not saying he's going to be a Premier League player by any means, but I think he's going to get an opportunity. And I think that whether it's with another MLS team, who's to say, or it could be abroad. But I think, Portland shot themselves in the foot, and having a star speak out that says a lot. That says a lot.
Yeah. By the way, one correction is Portland did have a positive goal differential. It was +9 on the season.
Okay.
So just want to throw that out there for when we inevitably get the comment on this that says, "Hey, you guys, they did have." Okay, you're right. Fair enough. It's a +9.
My bad. I'm sure it's the same people that are going to get mad at me that I said Kate Smith instead of Kate Scott. I'm sure that. And I even said it that my bad, I didn't say it right. Oh my God, because you put some respect on her name. I'm like, all right. Anyways,
yeah. I'll put some respect on the name when they don't get bounced 5-0 at home.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, so yeah, you were handed a clear opportunity to move on to the next round, and I guess you wanted Vancouver to feel like they were the home team. I guess. Yeah. Nothing says hospitality more than just letting the team beat you 5-0 in your own stadium.
Yeah, it's bad, man. That's
you know what? The goal differential now is 5. Just 4.
No, 4. Yeah, 4.
Goal differential now 4. So don't at me, bro. But all right.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
Moving on, man. So I did mention the NWSL, and we're actually moving right into it. There is a rebrand for one of the oldest teams in not only NWSL history, but in U.S. women's soccer history. And that is the Chicago Red Stars, who have finally rebranded their team as once the Chicago Red Stars to now the Chicago Stars.
I like it. I'll be honest. I like it. It's simple. You don't
less words. So
yeah, you don't change it. It still represents Chicago. It still represents your old teams. It felt like Red Stars was just so specific. Like it feels like it was like the Red Sox, but like discount Kmart version of the Red Sox.
I think it was supposed to be like a reference to like the red star on the
there's 4 red stars on the Chicago flag, but I mean you could just call yourself the Stars. It was okay. Would have been okay to begin with. I don't hate the change. I think sometimes things need to change. This is one I definitely a little bit bigger fan of, just because it's still the same colors, still the same look. The biggest difference is it no longer just says Red Stars, which I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of like connotation back to the old USSR that I don't know about, that it could be relating to by Red Stars. But yeah, I just stars just make sense. You live in the Great Lake area. You see the night sky, you see the stars in the sky. I don't know, maybe you just want to dream of being a superstar one day, and yeah, it's like being part of the Stars. Like, there's just so many easier ways to relate this team name now that it's the Stars and not the Red Stars. I do like it. You got to kind of keep up with some of these new team names that are getting a little more catchy, a little bit more superstar style of names rather than your old New York, New Jersey, Flash or whatever they were. Was that what they were? Western New York Flash at one point in time. It's yeah. So I don't hate this by any means. I think it's pretty cool. And they did a great job with their press release for it.
Yeah, I know that some people spoke on some controversy with the at least the promo that they had for it. I forgot what it was. I don't know if there was a lot of uproar. I just know that there's this new, kind of newish. There's this soccer podcast here in Houston called Soccer Tejas. It's like Alex Parra and Victor Riza, who was once was actually we brought on for an interview. He used to be with the Striker Texas, which I think that is no longer. I don't know what's going on there with that. But I just know that he's now doing that project with Alex Parra, who's a very big name as far as the soccer community goes here in Houston. And they were talking about, I guess, like feeling like the ad wasn't necessarily like putting more emphasis to women's soccer, which I don't know. I didn't watch the at least the promo for it because I mean, no offense, I just don't watch the NWSL like that. I watch it when I can. I watch specific matches. Obviously, I saw Alex Morgan's last game, which that was pretty rough for San Diego. That was a bad game. It was rough.
Yeah.
I was on ESPN, but no, there was a lot of there's moments I do watch the NWSL. I think, I mean, like the last year's final with Gotham FC. I think that was a really solid game. I thought that was a lot of fun. But once again, I just don't pay attention. And then obviously, I'm not a Chicago fan, so I'm not gonna follow them on social media. So that's just kind of my argument for that one. And I mean, there's a lot going on with the Houston Dash, and that's more. I think that's where most of my attention comes when it comes to NWSL goes to, because of you're getting another new coach. You fire the GM. It's just your big star Maria Sanchez wants out after you gave her the biggest contract in WWE. So a lot of things to talk about on that part. But anyways, I think obviously Chicago, which I mean, let's be honest, Chicago last time there was a rebrand for Chicago, people went crazy about it. Obviously the Chicago Fire, the weird 3-prong fire flame, weird circle kind of circular badge, oval badge that everyone hated, to the point where Chicago Fire within I think literally a year after that decided, okay, well, we got to rebrand this.
Yeah, we revamped the old logo to make it updated. That's where they went, which was smart, right? I mean,
it was a smart move, and I think Chicago's hoping they can do that as well. I think I think what you said is right. I think the rebrand's fine. The new logo is very clean and sleek. They kept the star though. They kept the Chicago star. So I think that, and not everything needs to have the 4 red stars. Like, everyone knows the Chicago flag. As a matter of fact, I have a Chicago flag coffee mug, not when I went to go visit Chicago, because I was like, I gotta have one of these for my mom.
They're gonna have a jersey that's gonna have all 4 stars on it too. It happens. And by the way, you mentioned the controversy. This is what it was. And following the 2021 season, the franchise was embroiled in controversy as the league conducted widespread investigations into allegations of abuse by former head coaches and the failure of player protections by club and league executives, which fostered unsafe environments. Previous ownership and their former coach were mentioned numerous times throughout multiple investigations, which led to several sanctions, and a fine of $1.5 million was issued. And the league dedicated itself to upholding a previous commitment by former ownership to sell the club, which then it was bought by Ricketts, who is the new owner, who is the one that was quoted in the press release of their new logo. So it looks like they're also trying to distance themselves from a PR standpoint from all those Red Stars searches that pop up. So that's also part of this as well.
Which obviously, to add on to it, obviously, because like the Red Star, the Stars should start focusing on the Stars part. They, like I said, they've existed for almost 20 years. They were obviously with the NWSL when they started in 2013, but they've gone many years before that. And obviously last year, the team was just bought out by Laura Ricketts, who is also one of the co-owners of the Chicago Cubs. But I think the rebrand's fine. I think there's the NWSL jersey partnership is Nike, so I mean, I'm sure Nike will do. I can't say anything yet nice about Nike right now. They're doing a shit job with the jersey. But you know what? Like it's a new era. They want to do this rebrand. Maybe they want to just start fresh and brush off everything that has happened. And I mean, maybe not just Chicago wise, but just NWSL wise. There's just so much of these terrible controversies. I mean, shoot, a prime example, the Dash. The goalkeeper, not the current goalkeeper coach, Eric Klinovsky is a classy guy, father of twins, good friend of mine. So I'm not gonna. He's a real great guy, great at dad jokes. But the goalkeeper coach before him, he actually was told to step away from the Dash because he was unfortunately dating a player, not on the current roster. It was the player has been away from the team for a while, but he was dating her while she was playing there. They were dating while he was as a coach as well. So it's just a lot of messiness.
Yeah. We can date this back to the WPS as well, where, I mean, there was the entire Florida franchise, which was a mess. There was the GoDaddy. It was the GoDaddy franchise that got bought out, rebought out, bought out again, and never played another game. And Magic Jack is where I think they finally finished as. Which is where Abby Wambach played for a while. Then you have the NC Courage back when they were, that was not too long ago in NWSL and all of that. It's been tough for women's sports, especially NWSL, WPS, insert women's league in America here. And it feels like a lot of these franchises finally have secure footing now in the NWSL. And so now we're seeing kind of a cleaning of house, if you will. I think it's good for the future of the NWSL and things like this. We're going to see more of it. Would not surprise me to see a few more franchises like this make these changes. Looking at you, Kansas City, now the Kansas City Current, which I think is a great rebrand for them as well. Also having a women's soccer specific stadium now. Gotham FC is rebranded from the Western New York Flash, like I mentioned earlier. Used to be New York, New Jersey FC or whatever it was then. And then, so yeah, you're seeing small rebrands here and there. And I think it's just better for the NWSL as a whole to see something like this where the Stars are now kind of stepping out of their own shadow and trying to make a new light forward. They're getting equal pay contracts as far as like the percentages and everything goes. So it's worth now. All right, now go build your own legacy is kind of what this feels like. And I think it's a good thing. Everybody wants to build their own legacy and leave a lasting legacy. So no need to tarnish it by the mistakes of some messed up people from before.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Chicago has always been a very progressive city. And obviously, Laura Ricketts, I believe, is the first openly gay MLB co-owner as well. So I think, and I'm not saying that that's like me, like, I'm not trying to say that like there's a connection to that, but I'm just saying like, maybe this is a good start for the Stars. Sorry. And so I think that we'll see how it progresses on, but I think a lot of NWSL team is going to want to try to move on from just a very rough period of time that not just, and like you said, going all the way back to even the early years of women's soccer leagues here in the U.S., of trying to push forward and trying to make this a safe and inviting league and a better league. And I think, the better part has definitely been pointed out because you have a lot of stars in the women's game that play in this league as well. And I know England with the Women's Super League is trying to compete with that, but I something about USA when it comes to women's soccer just seems to be kind of like our NBA is here, as far as women's soccer goes. But hopefully hopefully it continues to be better. Hopefully we start hearing these controversies. I just want to finally just be able to watch it, like look at NWSL news and just not see things about
enjoy
shady ownership.
enjoy the soccer that's being played and not
because there's a lot of statements being made right now, and I think it's going to continue being made until things get fixed, right? And I think that's going to be the part that we need to see first. But yeah, but I like the Stars rebrand. I can't wait to see how the kids look. I think the color scheme is going to be really nice. So we'll see how it all pans out for them.
I was a big fan of that navy blue with lighter blue and red. I think it's a good combo.
Which I think represents the lakes. I think that's
the flags in the lake and
Chicago knows how to connect to Chicago. I'm just gonna say that.
Yep.
That's one thing I will say for a fact. But all right, the last headline is Kevin De Bruyne possibly, and I mean possibly, coming to the MLS. Kelsey's in giggles right now. I'm really curious as to why. But if anybody knows, Kevin De Bruyne is entering his final season with Manchester City. Has it been a great final season with Manchester City? No, because he's been can't stay healthy for anything. And I think that's kind of summed up his last couple of years now with Man City. He's just been dealing with injury after injury, and some of the most bizarre injuries as well. That can happen to a person has happened to KDB. KDB, who I think many view as one of the best cams in the Premier League. Part of that Belgian golden generation that did absolutely nothing. This is where I kind of think maybe we're being too loosely with the word golden generation. But yeah, he was part of Belgium's golden generation. That once again did absolutely nothing. But he has been a bright spot for Manchester City. He was one of many of Jose Mourinho's biggest flops. Guys that he shipped away thinking that they were nothing, along with Mo Salah and Lukaku. Was Lukaku one of them?
Yep, Lukaku was one of them.
Lukaku and
twice Lukaku he had and then shipped out.
Yeah, so you know what? If Jose Mourinho thinks you're crap, you should really be happy because that's a great stamp of approval.
and then you know who he loved, right? Was Ibrahim Al-Shaarawy, the old Italian winger.
Yikes! And he's now at Roma.
Isn't bad now. He cut his hair and he's finally understanding how to play soccer again. But yeah, it took him a while to get there.
Yeah, that's a good name drop, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe you don't want to be in Jose Mourinho's list of good players. So, maybe you do want to be shunned by him because that means you're elite. But yeah, so Kevin De Bruyne, he's definitely thinking that it's time for him to step away from Europe. And last summer, literally this past summer, it was said that he was going to go to a team in the Saudi Pro League. Apparently the deal was done. Everything was going to be finalized, but then I was like, nah, I'm not going. I'm going to stay with Manchester City. Why? I have no idea. Maybe he failed a physical. I can't tell you what really happened. But there's another speculation. Saudi League still seems to be a rumor that's being brought up. But from what I've been reading is Kevin De Bruyne has been reached out by San Diego FC. He's been a name that there's been a lot of names thrown out for San Diego FC. I'll just be frank with it. Memo Ochoa, Sergio Ramos.
Every name possible that looks like to be in that retirement era.
I know. Chucky Lozano is actually the only signed player to San Diego FC right now, as far as I know. So they still have 2 DPs that they still need to work. Technically, I guess 3 more DPs if they choose not to use the U20. MLS is so complicated. But yeah. But yeah, so he seems intrigued by the San Diego FC, that opportunity. Also, I should point out this is probably the reason why he will end up going to the MLS is his wife does not want to go to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's all I need to know. His wife, I think she feels that her children will be better suited in San Diego over Saudi Arabia, which I think that's a pretty easy decision on that part. But obviously the saying goes, happy wife, happy life. So I'm sure that's why Kevin De Bruyne will end up choosing San Diego FC. But I do have a concern. But before I go into that concern, Kelcey, what are your thoughts as far as initially all this for Kevin De Bruyne possibly joining MLS?
All the good that I talked about early about the schedule change and trying to get rid of the retirement league comes right back around. And this is forever going to be the concern, it feels like, where players hit 32, 33 years old. They get a step slow for the English Premier League, the La Ligas, the Serie A's of the world. And they're like, man, America sounds pretty good right now. Let's go spend 2-3 years there hanging out on the sunny San Diego beachside. It's disappointing because as a fan of the MLS, I do want big names to come to the MLS, but I want good big names that are going to provide actual on-field performances. I don't want Frank Lampards every time. It's no longer what I want. Honestly, don't even want Thierry Henry's anymore. Would really, really, really love to have somebody like what you got with Keane when he came over and played with the Galaxy. And I don't think this is it for De Bruyne. I get why he wants to come to the MLS. That's fine. But man, that just it ruins everything about the whole we don't want to be a retirement league anymore conversation. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, look, you should be thankful. We have one of the best cams to ever play in the world in our league." Yeah, sure. We got Leo Messi too. What's your point? Take that how you guys are. If anybody wants to pick a slide out of that, go ahead. But yeah, this is just one I don't know, man. Great for San Diego. You got to get a big name. You got to get butts in the seats, but maybe look at Atlanta and how they did it first, which is getting a bunch of good quality players that are young and talented to come and play as DPs, get you a title, and get out. Hate to say it, Atlanta's riding on the coattails of a title, and that's they still have a rabid fan base, but at the same time, they haven't been able to put the same level of talent on the field since Almiron moved on to Newcastle. And at the same time, that should have been a blueprint for how to do it for the future, expansion squads. And yet at the same time, we're seeing Inter Miami going and getting big names. We're seeing now San Diego going and getting big names as well. Who knows? Maybe we're going to see the same thing when Sacramento Republic ends up in the league, but we're not seeing the same passion for trying to build a young, talented squad as we did when Atlanta came in. And that's my problem with this is you're a young team. You're finally getting a start. You're gonna kick it off with Kevin De Bruyne, who at the time in 2025, when this starts, probably be approaching his 34-year-old age, coming off a long season at City. Not even you won't even get him till the summer of 25. Is it worth it? I don't know. You might get 2 years rental out of him. It's tough. It's great for De Bruyne, but for the MLS, I'm not a fan of it. But that's me. I hate these situations where it's like a retirement tour basically for him.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned my exact concern. I think his health situation is the alarming part. I think he should, at this point, I think he's just better off retiring because I don't know what he can bring to the table besides maybe a couple of weeks of good attendance in San Diego. here's the thing, though, and maybe some people will get mad at me for saying this, but Kevin De Bruyne, while he is a star, I think he's a good name, but he's only a name of if you know the game, you'll know who Kevin De Bruyne is.
That's fair.
Because, I mean, let's be honest, Manchester City, that's not the first name you think of.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to think of Erling Haaland. You're going to think of that's it. It's Erling
Maybe
Haaland.
3 years ago, I think you could have thought of him, but I don't know if now he's the top guy. I think Bernardo Silva has passed him. I think even
because the thing is with me is obviously yes, he's world class. I'm not taking that away from him, but it's not like anybody knew that Kevin De Bruyne would be who he is now with Manchester City. You know, like, I mean, he wasn't like a big sign. Like, he wasn't like up there when it comes to like the Manchester City big signings that they did, which is like a Robinho, a Carlos Tevez, you know, like
David Silva,
a David Silva, like those signings where everybody's like, oh shoot, Sergio Aguero, like, you know, like those are the names you think of when you think of Man City. Kevin De Bruyne was just, let's bring this guy in, and it was like, oh shoot, we got a 10. That's literally what it was.
He was the Craig Bellamy of signings.
Yeah. It was just like a happy coincidence that this guy happened to be their guy. And I think, and I'm not, once again, this isn't me bashing on Kevin De Bruyne. I think obviously an amazing career, successful time, definitely a clear part of like the good, which I mean, part of the success of what Manchester City had, the multiple, you know, league titles, the Champions League title. He did get injured in the Champions League final, but still, you know, he's still part of that team's history. Like, the story of Manchester City doesn't get said without Kevin De Bruyne as well. But once again, he's just not the name that's going to get people excited. At least that's what I think. And then the other thing is just his health. Is he going to be healthy enough to give you a season? And I'm worried about a season. I'm not even thinking about 2 seasons.
That's fair. I think it's worth noting his first season will be a half season no matter what.
And so. that's valid. And then also depending on how the new season format goes.
Yeah. So you might get a whole season, but it's going to be split into 2 seasons.
So yeah, who knows, man? At this point, but I don't know. I just don't know how much he has left of him. I guess it all depends on how he recovers. He hasn't been able to play for Man City this year. I think he's played a few matches this season so far.
I believe it's double digits.
Okay. But still, health has been a big issue for him. And I think at this point, I mean, if you're Man City, if Phil Foden is not playing your 10 spot, then I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Phil Foden's been playing at all this year. Or if he has been like significant minutes. Because Doku is just...
it has been 1 match this season for... Oh, that's Champions League. 5 matches in the Premier League and... 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, hold on. 1.
So 5 Premier League games and 1 Champions League game. So that's 6 games so far.
Yeah, 6 total matches.
Any Carabao Cup or
1 Community Cup, Community Shield.
Well,
that was early this season. So yeah. Yeah, so 5 total matches for Man City.
Yeah, so hasn't really been available, but I mean, even despite that, I mean, Man City is still doing their thing. So I think he understands that, yeah, he's not needed at Man City, but I just don't know if I honestly think he should just retire. I think that him getting hit, a guy that's stayed fairly healthy throughout his career, and just now getting hit with these injuries, and it's not just like here's an injury, there's an injury. It's consistent injuries at this point in his career. And that's a little bit alarming to me. And I just don't want this to, and like, kind of how he said, I just don't want this to be another retirement league signing.
Yeah.
I think if he is healthy, him and Chucky Lozano are gonna be an interesting partnership, and I think it could be fun to watch these guys play it at year in, year out, at least for 2 seasons, hopefully. But that's my question right now is, can he be a benefit to the MLS where he, more attention comes into play? I mean, the Belgium market, I think, will help out a little bit in some cases with like jersey sales, but is this just going to be like another, because I mean, like, even though as exciting as people were about Messi, and I remember constantly I told people 2 years before Messi signed with MLS because the rumors were going on 2 years. I might even go further back that Messi wanted to come to MLS, specifically play for Inter Miami. And I kept telling people, hey, Messi's coming to Inter Miami. It's going to happen. David Beckham is going to somehow give him the David Beckham treatment. And all I heard from everybody was like, that's not going to happen. Messi's too good for this league. He's not going to do it. And when Messi finally did it, everybody's like, I don't know I don't think he's going to take the league seriously. I don't think he really cares it was just the pushing of the goalposts. Every time when I was like, Messi's coming to this league, whether you like it or not, whether you think he's too good for this league or not, he's coming to this league. And everyone just kept like shrugging it off, like, no, he's gonna go back to Barcelona. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna defend it anymore. And guess what? Now he's here, and I'm still not sure if this is good or bad for the league.
Yeah. So two things. One, we'll start with the Messi part of this. Messi's changed. There's been too many rules changed to meet Messi's needs, I think, in the MLS, which maybe not is the worst thing, but also kind of sets a weird precedent for future stars coming to the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the whole situation with turf and not turf stadiums. Mind you, I'm all for non-turf stadiums or mixed turf stadiums being the thing. That's great for me. But I don't think soccer should be played on a carpet anyways. But secondly, early on in that conversation, you talked about De Bruyne maybe not being big enough. I do think he still carries enough weight to have something. But like you said, the injuries, all of his injuries are leg injuries. Their thighs, their knees, and then their undescript broad definition injuries, which is according to the transfer market injury career thing for him, which means that they are no identifiable injury or too many or just rest is potentially what it is. But the fact that all the major ones are thigh injuries followed by knee injuries is not good for his longevity. And especially, we've talked about this a few times, especially talking about Messi and a few of these older players when they come to the league. I don't think players realize how big the U.S. is and how long it takes to travel from stadium to stadium to get to a game. His first game, if he goes to San Diego, will be against the Galaxy or LAFC. One of the two, probably the Galaxy seems to be the most likely. That is still a 2-hour difference in location. And people don't realize that's the closest team to him. To travel up north and play San Jose, that's about a 10-hour, 11-hour drive. So they're going to jump on a plane. To go any of the other Western Conference teams, you're going to get on a plane. To go to the East Coast and play New York, to play against Miami, to play against any of those teams, Nashville, Atlanta, and everything, you get to Atlanta, and then you travel to Nashville. Like, you are going to be in buses and not traveling in the most amount of comfort over hours and hours of time. We don't even want to put distances to these things because they take so long. And it's not like you're traveling in a very centralized location where the furthest place away is 3 hours by your team bus. That's it. Or 3 hours by team plane to play in the Champions League. Like, this is a whole different scenario where travel is going to come into play. And again, we don't even know if he's going to get a full season in either the first two seasons he's here. And I think that's even becomes more limited when you're taking the travel with him. And it's why I don't like the idea of turning this into a transfer, keeping this a retirement league. I think that needs to go away. I'm tired of seeing it. And that's to say I have seen some of my favorite players play as retirement players in the MLS. I don't enjoy seeing a shell of the player that once was. I didn't enjoy seeing Ibrahimovic, the shell of the player he once was. I didn't enjoy seeing Stevie G, the shell of a player he once was. That was hard to watch. I don't enjoy those moments. So if you can bring something, great. But if you can't, just retire, man. It's just safer that way for you. As athletes, you don't need to keep making this, impact on your body every single night in and night out. if you got enough money, enjoy your life. If you can't physically keep up with the game, and just enjoy your life.
Yeah, and that's something I agree with. I think that's the part that scares me more than anything else. I just don't want the name is great, and like I said, I you're right. I'm not disavowing what he can bring to the table as far as the name goes, because I think there's a lot of American Manchester City fans,
Yeah,
whether they're bandwagon or not, they they're prevalent and around it. I mean, Chris from Corner Booth. I mean, now he's
guys who could never tell where Manchester is on a map, and that probably didn't even know United and City in the same city.
Yeah, so I think
no offense, Chris. Chris actually knows, but everybody else.
Nah, he sucks. But I love you, Chrissy. I think that the thing that like if you're just not capable of playing, please don't play.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you to hurt this brand just as much as like Stevie G, like as exciting it was for him to come to like I forget that was a thing. Like I completely forgot Stevie G was in the LA Galaxy. Just like Frank Lampard was a weird part of MLS's history. And I mean, there's other names. Wayne Rooney was fun, but it very short lived.
David Villa, fun, short lived,
and also controversial because the whole thing of him bothering that athletic training girl.
Yeah,
that was pretty rough. Which ruined everything that I felt about David Villa after that. But I think it's just name after name. And I mean, yes, recently, like the players that have come to MLS now, like even Benteke. I mean, Benteke was the leading goal scorer. I mean, a shitty DC United defense, but still, Golden Boot winner. Hugo Lloris comes in, and I mean, look where LAFC finished in first place in the Western Conference. Yes, it was a decision day. It took a decision day, but still got the job done. Olivier Giroud, maybe it's still kind of a head scratcher whether what his impact is going to be on the league. Messi's impact is clear. Probably going to win MVP, even though I'm against it.
I'll throw this out here about Messi. I think Luis Suarez was a better signing for Inter Miami than Messi is.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think for performance on the field, specifically for performance on the field, Luis Suarez was a better signing for Inter Miami and for the MLS than Messi.
I agree to that. I don't disagree. And I mean, shoot, actually, I mean, I know he's not like, worldly, like not too worldly. But I mean, people know him. Specifically, him choking Weston McKennie and basically anybody in the U.S. jersey. What's with Mexico players and choking Americans? Like, I just... Okay, they don't just choke us. I've seen them choke Canadians, too.
They choke their own team players, too.
They just have a thing for choking people. Like, it's an art. I mean, for you not to be able to react that quickly for them to, like, grab a button.
They'll also then, as soon as they get caught choking somebody, they're going to fall to the ground. Oh, my face.
Yeah, it's an art. It's an art.
It's an art.
Depending who you ask, it's an art form. But I mean,
I'm not asking Matt Miazga.
Well, Matt Miazga is all about the height difference of somebody. Maybe he should be with the U.S. men's national team back line. At least it'd been a better option than Miles Robinson. Actually, I think he's injured. But actually, I'd take an injured Matt Miazga over Miles Robinson from that last call up. But yeah, I mean. I like the idea of Kevin De Bruyne. It's not that I don't like it. I just the injuries right now is a concern for me, and I just don't know. Just like, what's he gonna do? We're just gonna zoom in on him from the club box seats, because there's Kevin De Bruyne. He's still not healthy yet, but
yeah, same thing they did with Messi on the sidelines. Hi, Leo.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a lot of that, but I'm sure once he's healthy, I think he's going to be impactful. But it's just going to be crazy because we're talking about DP money. He's going to be a DP, and for you guys to know what DP means, designated player, get your heads out of the gutter.
And he gets paid by every team in the league, technically speaking.
Yeah, so I think the contract will be interesting. For him, what exactly does that contract means for Kevin De Bruyne will be interesting. It's not going to be the Messi contract. I don't think anybody's going to get that kind of contract, but it's still going to be a really big contract, at least for him and MLS wise. But we'll see how it all goes, man. San Diego is going to be very interesting just because they've been linked with so many players. Yeah. That we'll see who they actually sign. And to your point, and I mean, this has nothing to do with Kevin De Bruyne by any means, but I do think this kind of goes back to my argument about college soccer, where I think MLS just needs to move away from the MLS Super Draft. Has it had some benefits? Yeah. Yes, to some extent, just because a few players maybe were able to stand out from it. But I feel like I think more recent than not, and I mean, I'll use the Dynamo for example. None of our draft picks are regular starters for the Dynamo. You can say Ethan Bardlow might be the exception to the rule, but he rotates in and out with Mikhail. But aside from that, I don't see a single draft pick.
None of your recent draft picks. Now, if you go back, see, this is where the Super Draft had its place. In the early 2000s, it was perfect because that got the talented young American players in the college system into the MLS and playing. We wouldn't have had a Stu Holden. We wouldn't have had a Omar Gonzalez. We wouldn't have had Jeff Cameron, Breck Shea. None of those guys would have played in MLS had they not had the Super Draft. We don't know where they were. Right. We don't know.
Clint Dempsey is another.
Yeah, and so that was what it was for. It's the new age of soccer where there is so much content available to somebody recruiting, to scouting an area, a region across the world, whether it is a team in Norway or a team in Brussels. They're going to be able to find a player in Nacogdoches, Texas, because of YouTube, because of Twitter, because of other forms of media. And it's not necessary that college is the only way for a young American player to be found. And I think that's the important difference between the early 2000s and now. But I agree. I don't think the Super Draft has a place anymore for a lot of it, because while it had a purpose of kind of distributing talent from college into the pros, we're beyond that now, to the point where there's teams that are getting first overall picks that within a year, that first overall pick is being replaced by an international player coming and retiring at the league. And that will never see that number one pick again. And they're dotted across the league.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, my point was just that if we were to move away from the MLS Super Draft, but still I still want the combines. I still want
combines perfect.
To bring players in for people to scout guys. And I think once again, I want to give more power to the players. Where, maybe San Diego, all right, we need to fill the roster and keep within the fine lines between the salary cap. That's your best option. If you're trying to stay within the salary cap, is going after these college players. And it's you don't want to mess up on these, the guys that are going to be your supporting cast for your designated players. So you want to make sure that you're going to get a guy that's going to want to play, but to fit to whatever your tactics are going to be. And I think MLS just needs to move into that more than it is now, because I think what's the point of having a guy that's just going to sit there and not play a thing? I mean, and this, I'm not trying to take jabs at the Dynamo right now, but I mean, the Dynamo, I believe, one of their center backs, he's actually, I think, defensive player of the Big Ten when he was playing at Penn State. And I mean, obviously, it's hard to get into the defensive lineup for the Dynamo right now, because obviously they're one of the better defenses in the MLS right now. But still, that kid is playing D2 right now. He hasn't even, I think the only time he's been with the first team was to play to be on the bench for CONCACAF Champions Cup or an Open Cup match, and then once again, not playing. He was just on the bench. And so, and mind you, he was that year's Defensive Player of the Year for the Big Ten Conference, which Big Ten, actually is a really good conference when it comes to men's soccer. I'm learning more about college soccer, and I'm learning that the Big Ten is actually pretty
second
good.
Best. I'd say second best conference right now.
Yeah, I think the ACC is right now the best.
Still top dogs.
Yeah, so I know Clemson's a powerhouse right now, but
Notre Dame, Clemson, North Carolina, Yeah.
Yeah, so that and so that guy maybe elsewhere, which also is crazy because he wasn't even drafted, but which is crazy. Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, right? Goes undrafted, and which is insane to me that no other team wanted to go. You mean to tell me you don't need a center back? And if you're not going to go after a center back, you don't want to go after the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah. I've always had this theory. It's kind of been enlightened a little more once the NBA had their G League, and now they have the NBA Ignite G League team, which is like a showcase team for players that are unaffiliated. So they're not affiliated with any specific NBA team. I think that should happen in the MLS. The MLS already has the MLS Next Academies and things like that. Make something where you have a traveling MLS showcase team that is made of just draftees that didn't get picked up by a team somewhere, and let them play practice matches. Let them play in the preseason against these MLS teams. Instead of scheduling the Charleston Battery, go out and schedule this MLS showcase team where these young kids get an opportunity to play and see what they have at the next level. And then from there, team can bring them in as a reserve team. And that's something that I think misses in American soccer versus every other league in the world, is there are reserve leagues in every other league. The English Premier League has a reserve league. Every team has a reserves team. So you have your squad of 18 and then you have your reserves. In those reserves, they play matches, I believe, on Thursdays and Fridays. And then they go and watch the Premier League team play Saturday, Sundays, and sometimes Mondays. And I think that's the huge difference here, is there is an obvious path to the pros in Europe, where you play in the reserves, you perform in the reserves, you get moved up to the full 18.
Yeah, in the MLS, I remember that FIFA even let you do that when you were when you got to do the Be a Pro.
Yeah,
career mode. You actually started off on the reserves team for whatever club you were in.
And when you'd play in the MLS and you started your career in the MLS, they'd still put you on a reserves team, but it didn't make sense because it's not how the league works. Yeah, you're playing with the other superstars on the team, but because they're so low. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, I think that's one thing. Like, the MLS has so many opportunities to revamp how they do things, player allocations, and still give college soccer a preference to MLS, pathways. They just don't pursue them. And I think that's a big issue that I've had a lot of complaints about the MLS, it feels like, in this episode, but like, this is just kind of capping it off of.
I think we need to do an episode where we just straight out just like put it out in the air.
There's a lot of good things the MLS has done for U.S. soccer, but I think they lag behind what they could do for U.S. soccer. And I think that's the difference, is they've stayed doing the tried and true to what got a Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan in the era, and the Brian Chings in the era when now we don't need those same methods to get it done. Now we want to send players to Bayern Munich to perform, not to just go and be there for 6 months and be like, I don't like this, and come back. And, well, nothing against Landon Donovan. He performed at the highest level for the American Soccer Federation. Did not perform at the highest level overseas until he was basically retiring. So that's always, a complaint. But yeah, I would absolutely be down for a trash on MLS episode.
I think, honestly, what I might have to come up with something where you, me, and Jose, we just come on and some sort of thing. I don't know if it would be just like a full discussion, or it might be something that we could do for the international break, because obviously it's like really hard to talk about anything because there's not really much to talk about during international break. But man, I think that's actually a really good idea. Just do one of those, like, let's draft the things we don't like about MLS. Like, I mean, that would
run it down a list, guys. We're going to start topics, and we're going to be like, all right, player allocation, what can you fix? Oh, let me tell you.
Don't even get me started on
We'll call it fixing the MLS.
Oh, my God. I just need someone to explain to me what CAM and TAM is, because I still have no idea what the heck.
And that's the other piece, the allocation monies and
target allocation money. No, GAM, that's what it's. There's general allocation, there's target allocation, which I'm like, kind of like Patrick, what's the difference?
What's the difference there, bud? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's they get more and more in depth with these. It feels like you ever watched or ever watched like a sport and they pull out these advanced analytics that are like X N Y X C Z B, and you're like, what? That's what this feels like.
Bro,
It's like
my favorite stat in soccer, which is funny that we even have stats in soccer, but XG is still to me my favorite statistic because it's like, how do you rate the likelihood of that being a goal?
my favorite is a point blank shot into the keeper on a breakaway gets a 0.4 in expected goals. Like what? No, that needs to be a 1. That should be a 2 if we're being honest. That should every time, 10 times on Sunday, be a goal. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's like everything's just a decibel to just like, where it's just like, this. So you're telling me I can't score this? Like
you know what it is? It's a stat to make people who love stats value a setup striker more than anything.
It's like it's just an open net XG 0.5.
We had to figure out how to make it so Luca Toni looked good on a stat sheet.
That makes a lot of sense. But yeah. So very long. This makes this episode very long, and that's fine with me. Kelcey, thank you so much for always coming on. Obviously, clutch as always, super sub. I think for next year's awards, we got to figure out a super sub award and how we're gonna allocate how exactly the decision process that's gonna work out. The Kelcey Coins super sub.
Best non-starter in any European league or something.
The Kelcey Coin sub of the year.
Oh, there you go.
And so which is gonna suck now because then that means that me and Edward are gonna have to start looking at benches and
just start looking at everybody who's been.
You know what?
Been brought on.
I will just say that the 2024 sub of the year is Lautaro Martinez.
There you go. Yeah, I think he wins 2024 already.
I think we'll make the announcement for the end of the year episode. We'll the debut of the Kelcey Coins sub of the year.
There you go.
I mean, nothing's going to top what Lautaro did. I mean, dude played 15 minutes and was the leading goal scorer. So
I don't think I've seen a better goal scoring record in the tournament.
Yeah, obviously. But Kelcey Coin, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me for 2 hours.
Anytime, man. Anytime. I love it every time.
But obviously, this is your time. What's going on over there at High Low and also at BellyUpSports?
Yeah, so High Low, we've got our brand new live episode every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and then next morning you'll catch us on every audio platform. We've been rolling out a lot more betting odds and things like that. So now you have Kelcey's coin flip, so play on my name, where I give you something. It's a pretty close coin flip as far as how it's going to end up. So plus 100, plus 200 odds, minus 100, minus 200 odds. All right, now we're on a bit of a hot streak lately. We've had 4 out of the last 5, and in this season we've had 5 total wins in the 8 weeks we've done it. Then DJ's best bets have been performing well. He finally just had another one not hit, so out of the last 3 weeks he's only lost 3 bets out of his 4 every week. So we're doing pretty good. If you need getting some betting opportunities in for the weekend, if you guys are a bettor, if you bet smart, and it's always fun. And then over at Belly Up, we're getting ready for the kind of playoff break for college football, and we're getting ready to the end of the season for the NFL. You have the NHL just kicking off, so a lot of great NHL content and the World Series. So if you haven't seen any of the blogs for the World Series that Kevin puts out, those are coming out pretty much every single the day following every single World Series event. So be sure to check those out over at bellyup.com.
All right, man. Kelcey, thank you so much for coming on as always. And we'll go ahead and segue into Players of the Week. All right, Kelcey, thank you so much yet again for coming on the super sub of Insert Name FC, man. We gladly very much appreciate him. He's always super helpful, and obviously he always enjoys coming on to talk footy whenever he gets a chance. So make sure you guys check out High Low Sports, man. These guys really talk a lot about when it comes to sports in America. And I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to them. Check them out. Especially with Kelcey, man. He's doing a lot for BellyUpSports. But what also we appreciate is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site application, depending on how you use it. It is awesome, easy to use, especially with their grading system, which is a color system. If it's red, that means it's not a great deal. Do not buy these tickets. And if it's green, that means thumbs up. Go get these tickets. You're going to get a solid deal for these seats. SeatGeek, I've used it plenty of times for all my sporting and live events that I go attend to, from sports to concerts, even to some live theater. Because, fun fact, I used to do theater in high school. But I really enjoyed it. It's an amazing app, and it's so easy to use. So if you guys want things to be a little bit sweeter for you, if you use the code BellyUpSports at checkout, you'll save $20 off your first purchase. So first-time users only save $20 off your first purchase using the code BellyUpSports at checkout at SeatGeek.com. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets. But all right, players of the week. Oh, sorry. It's a little text message. All right, the players of the week. Edwards' player of the week is, surprise, Robert Lewandowski, who scored 2 goals in Barcelona's 4-0 victory against Real Madrid in El Clasico. I just get constant reminders of that shitty game. But here we are. So Robert Lewandowski, within 2 minutes, I believe 2 minutes apart from each other, or at least less than 2 minutes apart from each other. But yeah, congratulations, Robert Lewandowski. And my player of the week is Alexis Claude Maurice, who scored 2 goals in FC Augsburg's 2-1 victory against Borussia Dortmund. So congratulations to Robert Lewandowski and Alexis Claude Maurice for being our players of the week. If you guys want to help out your favorite player, go on our post on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. There is the link right there on the post. It is a Google document where you can vote for your favorite player, give them an extra vote for player of the week. Those extra votes do go towards their tallies for the 2024 Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year award that we hand out at our end of the year episode. So if you guys want to help your favorite player get an extra edge on the Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year award, well, that's where you go. So make sure you guys go ahead and vote for your favorite player to win the 2024 Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year award. So thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations, Robert Lewandowski and Alexis Claude Maurice, for being our players of the week. Once again, use that code BellyUpSports on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com, and you'll save $20 off. So, all right, guys, we got games this weekend. Obviously, round 1 of the MLS Cup playoffs is still continuing on. So maybe at this point we have teams that are moving on to the next round. Maybe we're going to have some game 3 situations. So go ahead and check out what's going to happen there. We got in Liga MX, we got Tigres versus Tijuana and Chivas versus Pumas. They're getting very much closer to their postseason as well. So be ready for that. In Ligue 1, we got Lyon taking on Lille, and everybody's fun matchup, Brest versus Nice, which obviously if you guys read it in English, it says Nice Brest. But yeah, in the Bundesliga, we got Bayer Leverkusen versus VfB Stuttgart, and Borussia Dortmund taking on RB Leipzig. So some juicy matchups this weekend for the Bundesliga. In the Serie A, we got Udinese, who's doing fairly well this year in Serie A, taking on Juventus, and another team that's doing fairly well in Serie A, Napoli, taking on Atalanta. So we'll see how those matchups pair out over there in Serie A. In La Liga, we have Barcelona coming off of a huge win in El Clasico, going up against their fellow Catalonians, Espanyol. So I'm hoping for Espanyol to come up with an upset. This is one of those teams that is a massive thorn to Barcelona's side, so I'm hoping that trends well for me as a Madrista. And we have Sevilla taking on Real Sociedad. So that's what's going on in La Liga. In the Premier League, we got triple. We got 3 matches for you this week. We got Newcastle United taking on Arsenal, Tottenham versus Aston Villa, and Manchester United versus Chelsea. So we'll see how all those matches go down this weekend. Obviously, there's a ton of matches going on this weekend, but if you guys need a beginner's guide, here's some good matches to go ahead and check out if you're getting new to the game of footy. But all right, we're going to take a break and then we'll wrap this show up.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, guys, I want to thank Kelcey Coin for coming on. Make sure you guys check him out at High Low Sports, man. like I said, great podcast. Him and DJ Stewart do such an amazing job on covering all these sports that are going on here in the U.S. Obviously not soccer, but MLB, NBA, NFL, college sports, any sort of sport that's happening in the U.S., they do cover it fairly well. So go ahead and check them out, man. Shout out to the Belly Up Podcast Network, because you can find them over there on Belly Up Sports, as well as myself, Jared and them at the Corner Booth Pod, 1420 Podcast. Even though they're Yankees fans, check them all out, man. Great content over there. Nate Wynn, man, check him out, man. He's done a lot of work for Belly Up Sports. Check out his podcast. I believe it's. I know it's like a football term, but he's also doing his thing in the podcasting game. So go ahead and check him out. I don't know how many shows he has. He does a lot of stuff with Belly Up, but go ahead and check him out, man. Also Belly Up Fantasy, man. Check out them, especially if you're big into fantasy sports and gambling. That is definitely your avenue to go check out. On Belly Up, also check them out on Instagram and the X at Belly Up Media and at Belly Up Sports. So you guys can see all the great stuff that's being done, all the great articles like Nick Gable, some of his writing for soccer, but also check out all the great writing that's going on over there at Belly Up Sports. Also, shout out to GolzTV. We love being with GolzTV. We love dropping content for GolzTV. We believe in Jose Tejas and his vision, and we hope to continue that relationship on with them. So check us out over there at golz.tv, golz.tv. And also follow them on Instagram at golz.tv, golz.tv, and on the X at golz_TV. That's right, golz_TV. So make sure you guys check that out. And of course, man, the guy, if you guys love our intros or outros, all the beats that goes on these episodes, well, it's made by this man, the myth, the legend, the namesake of the Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year Award, Roosevelt Spencer. Also, congratulations. He has a child. He's had a kid for a while, but I haven't really announced it on the podcast, but congratulations. He has a very strong, tough-willed Spencer in his family lineage now. I'm really happy to hear that he is now a father. Now that makes me the only one that doesn't have a child. I am an adopted father, though, so at least I have that going with Rodrigo and Martinelli and Valverde. So, and Timothy Weah. So I may not be a natural father like Edward and Spencer, but I am a proud adopted father. So there is that. But check him out, man. Roosevelt Spencer. If you guys like our beats, follow him on Instagram at That Guy Dope. Once again, at That Guy Dope. If you guys need some beat work done, whether you have a podcast or a YouTube channel, or you're trying to get into the music industry, well, hit up Spencer. He'll take great care of you like he always does with us. But yeah, man. We can't thank him enough. That's why we named the Roosevelt Spencer's Player of the Year Award after him as always. And so we hope that he continues to love this show and always shows his appreciation to what we have built here at Insert Name FC. But with all that being said, man, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Catch us next week where we'll talk some more footy. We'll probably be recapping. Actually, probably not be recapping, but we'll talk some more crazy news that's going on in this beautiful game of ours. But thank you so much for listening. Catch you next week. Take care, guys.
Who is that guy?